All right. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that. Well, now you guys are starting to be able to hear me. That's why it's good to always keep my mind on the chat. You guys save me on that. So sorry, my computer resets and I got to hit this one button to make sure that it's on. There's like 50 buttons you got to have pushed. Everything in its right place or something's completely out of whack. Well, our Mariners come back in now and take the hill here to try to get back on our Astros. And it's, of course, been a little bit rough on the second half of this All-Star break as the Astros have taken 4 straight from our Mariners. But Ray goes back out on the hill today. Feel like he's going to perform a lot better in this game than the last game. I'm not expecting him to dominate the Astros by any measure here, and he's doing pretty good to start things, getting 0-2 after a quick first out in this inning. But really felt like he was suffering from some hard luck in his last start, stuff that just wasn't quite, his fault, so to speak. He was putting pitches in good spots. Hitters were making good swings on tough pitches, and batters were finding holes where men weren't. And I didn't think that was necessarily completely his fault. Thanks for letting me know on the mic, guys. Sorry about that. So we got a 1-2 count here on Jeremy Pena for Robbie. Set in the delivery, swing, and knocked foul back. Really would like to see them put this series and at least be able to split this series in Houston. It's a 4-game series. You did lose that tough first game last night, but you just wanted, let's get to some competitive points here with this team. Let's not look completely overmatched. And we are now increasingly moving faster to the trade deadline at nearly like a light speed pace here. 1-2 delivery is a little bit low to Jeremy. So it's going to be interesting to see if Dipoto can work some magic up here, as time is a bit of the essence. And he is in a little bit of a tough conundrum spot here where your lineup really needs another bat. But you do know with the George Kirby countdown, the 2-2 delivery, outside 3-2, getting a little nibbly here. He's sort of doing little sips of the cup. You know what I mean? Little sips on the cup. But it puts you in a conundrum if you're Dipoto. Because theoretically, you could put a ton into the center of the table as far as chips. And there's a swing and a miss. Nice pitch. Looked like that was either a slider or it was a slider, right? Robbie's got so many pitches you got to check. Slider or a sinker there. Kind of got more of almost a sinker action on that thing. Yep. Was it a sinker? That had to be a sinker, right? It's a great pitch. Ballsy to throw one out of the zone 3-2. So we got 2 outs here. Aldemez Diaz up to the plate. But you have a theoretical place here, ball 1, where you can go all in and get a hitter and go get a pitcher. If you really felt like this team was ready to go. If you felt like they're just kind of partially ready to go, if a couple things hit fire, then you're probably just going to go pitcher. Hard still at this point, though, understanding where the situation is, to believe that they would just go hitter and not pitcher with this trade deadline. Devin, it's good to see you in here. Spectre 7, TJ Singh. I got no hope against Verlander. Well, that's understandable. What is the guy having his damn near best year of his career right now at 39? 2-0 pitch. Ooh, very nice pitch. He put that on the bottom left-hand corner of the strike zone. That's pinpoint control right there. They don't get any better than that pitch from a ball location. Then he puts one in the dirt on the next pitch. Kronos, how you doing? It's good to see you. We needed you bad in this game. This is going to be a rough one. It might be. I feel like Robbie's going to bounce back and be fairly tough through this lineup. We got to score some runs, and I don't think he's going to be able to shut out the Astros. But if Robbie can just get us through some innings here, try to get us into that bullpen. That ball is hit high and deep and far, and it's off the damn mezzanine. Damn. That ball was hit into the stratosphere. Was that just a hanger? I didn't even get a chance. He hit that thing. Whoa, my God. It hit the building in the back of the wall of the stadium back there in Houston. Like the upper portion of the left field to the far back. What did Rob throw there? Oh, he just left a meaty 94-mile-an-hour fastball right over the middle of the plate. And, I mean, oh, my God. That thing was thunderstruck. Swinging a miss on the first pitch. Well, that's what Robbie does, right? Like he either has just trouble innings get him, or he gives up the home run. He usually works pretty well in between all that. Sector 7 says, yeah, I don't know about this. Bullpen is taxed as well. Doubt we get Munoz tonight, and no Diego. It's true. Diego put on the IL, which was tough to see. You hope that situation settles down and it's not something more serious, because the dominant bullpen that this team does have up until this point has been a big component of their success. 0-2 count now. 2 outs here. Bottom of the second. 1-0 Houston. Robbie with the wide, the delivery, swing, knocked back, out of play. Very interesting position for Dipoto to be in, though, right here. You know, he has assets to work with. The payroll can feasibly take on money that wasn't kind of spent on those guys of like a Chris Bryant or a Trevor Story that you passed on at the start of the season. I don't know. I have a great answer to give him as far as what I would advise doing. I guess you probably just go starting pitching and hope your hitters come together a bit. Robbie goes up a little high there, ball. Spectre says, not to sound too much like a doomer, but I think the Astros just straight up class us by a good amount. Mariners are good enough to sneak into the playoffs, but I think that's it. I think that is a reasonable, I don't think it's a doomer. I think it's a very reasonable position to take as you look at this team. You know, the Astros have been now years at the top refining this and, you know, getting all of the last parts. They've been here. They know what to do. They know how to get through these seasons to put themselves in position. There is something you gain in that wisdom, and Seattle's getting on their rise to that point. And I think I still, from my standpoint, Spectre 7 would say that even if that was the case, and it very likely is, to me that's still a hugely successful season for us this year, because I was actually expecting a little bit of a, you know, regression to the mean as far as the wins and losses, being more of a, you know, 500 type ball club, but the signs of life were there with what you were seeing in the lineup. So to be a little bit of ahead of that role, maybe not to be the dominant level yet at the top of the class, but to still be good. And that ball is up 94 and just fought off the hands, falls in. Hard luck right there. He got him right in on the hands on Dubon, and he just kind of fought that thing off into center field. Robbie's had some tough stuff go on with some of these hits lately, with where just ball just kind of leaks out there in the outfield. Just that's sort of tough luck. He's not necessarily giving up outside of the home runs. He's not giving up crazy line drives. But I think it's well said, Spectre 7. You do have, and really this lineup, we continually sit here and say, okay, it's just got to come together. It's got to come together. And you come back again and again going, okay, when are you guys coming together here? We're almost to August. You know, you still have guys hitting in the 230, 220, 180, 170. And Maldonado comes up in his typical free swinging self and takes a hack at strike one. You know, when are these guys going to let that happen? And quite frankly, as it appears to me right now, is, you know, maybe Haniger brings it back into the frame. But if we're talking again about them turning into a true contender, that to me is the thing that eventually gets you from an Achilles standpoint. You just don't quite have enough bats in the lineup. And I still think I approve. I know I still approve of Dipoto, and not swinging at strike two is Maldonado, and he pops this one up. Frazier's under it. Ooh, a little tougher play than it looked there. I had to kind of reach back for it. Nice job, Frazier. So the out will end the inning here in the second. The Astros get a couple of hits, a home run, and get on top here 1-0. But I didn't think that they should have spent that money on one of those lesser bats or those older bats this preseason or just before the start of the year, you know, after the strike kind of ended. I'm very much happy that they've decided to enact patience here. So I'm okay if, you know, whatever direction they kind of go at this point. But if they did want to go aggro, Spectre, if they wanted to go all in and find a way to add both, you know, boy, that would so divide some of the fan base up on that one. Giving up like almost all your prospects up, and then you're bringing in like Castillo and Soto, let's say. You know, you go for the you go, well, F it. If we're going in, let's go all in. Wouldn't that be insane? I'm not saying it happened. We're just talking about all the possibilities here that kind of sit at play. And Dipoto does kind of sit here at a point of like, well, do I S or get off the pot? Like, if I'm just going to go to Castillo, does Castillo put us just over the top? No, he keeps us, and we remain in the same place we basically are at the moment. We're hoping that at that point that merely simply the bats will turn around and start raking, which may happen. I'm not gonna moan if he takes that track through the next offseason saying, "Oh, I should have. Why did you do this?" I'm like, "Okay, I get it. I understand where you're coming from, making that decision, going that direction with it." But if he was going aggressive too, I don't know if I'd hate that either. I don't know if I could poo-poo that either on the other side. Stinging Devil Rays, is things better here? Well, we're down 1-0, so it's a little bit rough as far as the start goes, but we're doing good today. Spectre says the inner sad Mariner fan has us out of the wild card slot after the Yankees series, sadly. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. It's possible. I mean, once you do get through these series cleared, both with the Astros and the Yankees, I mean, you are kind of going downhill from a schedule standpoint. I'll bring it up here, actually, so we can talk about it. Mariners season schedule. Because I thought I looked at it a little while ago and I was like, oh yeah, this is not bad. I can work with this. All right, Verlander back on the hill here, top of the third inning. The Mariners have managed one hit against him here early on, which is encouraging. We got Cal Raleigh up to the plate. Cal swings first pitch and sends it back. Mariner batters here early on just getting a little bit underneath Verlander. It's almost like his fastball rises an extra 1.5 inches right at the last moment it crosses the plate. Cordo says, really, there is one person to fix our 2 holes, but other than Ohtani, we need 2 players to help our holes. Well, Ohtani's the one he's the holy grail out there, right? Like, he's the guy that would solve 2 problems in one majorly. He would cost an insane amount of draft capital, not just because he is a unicorn, literal unicorn player, not a unicorn like who's a 5-tool guy. No, he's a unicorn. But then also that you have to get the Astros to sign off on an 0-2 count here on Cal Raleigh up high, 1-2. You then have to sign off on the Astros. Not the Astros, but the Angels. That's why I was positive, like Astros. And no, the Angels would have to sign off on trading him within the division. And that means they're going to probably want a little bit extra. And Cal with a weak swing on a slider down in on his ankles there. Quick K here by Verlander. First strikeout of the game. Justin's delivery does have a little bit of a natural deception to it, where they showed a nice angle there where you could really see from the back shot of how hard it is to kind of pick up the pitch out of his hand. It looks just kind of a little, it's a bit of a funky delivery, but it's one that does give him, it's not like a pure, you get those some pitchers that'll hide that ball all the way till they're down to the downhill point of their delivery. And it's not that. He still comes up over the top with it. But just sort of the way he kind of whips it around there and how it comes out, it's just, you don't get a lot of chance to really pick up what's going on with it. And Winker hits a soft little curveball out to left field after 0-1, and he is out. Much like we saw last week, Verlander is pounding the strike zone right now. Mariner hitters are swinging early in counts, and they're not able to do much with it. He's just getting guys to really lift the ball over and over and over again. But Ohtani would be the guy as well, Kronos. You could make that argument if you go in Castillo and you were looking at Castillo and said Soto, you'd go, well, we could parse up even less prospects and just go get Ohtani at that point. But again, would the Angels be willing to make that move? Maybe. I mean, if they make a move of Ohtani, they're acknowledging that we're essentially where the Mariners were in 2018 or something, right? And so that does maybe open the door on it. But boy, the time is ticking on this. We got August 3rd, I believe, is the trade deadline in 5 days. Less than a week. Verlander going to a rare 2-0 count here to Adam Frazier with 2 quick outs in this inning. If Frazier can get on at the bottom of the lineup and turn this over for Julio. August 2nd, I'm sorry, Kronos. So even less time. We got 4 days. 4 days. That ball is high. Very good eye by Frazier. Now, here's where, again, I do. And Frazier in his last 14 games is hitting .353, 18 for 51. This is where, again, though, you're bottom of the lineup. You'd love to give Julio a guy on base. Take a strike. Take a strike. That ball was outside by 2 inches, and the umpire still called it a strike. I'm so ready for robo-ums. So ready for robo-ums. Corno says, I have no delusions of getting Ohtani, but what if? Yeah, that's all we're talking here. I mean, we're just talking shop here. You know, this is like barroom talk. And a great take there by Frazier. High, draws the walk. Love it, man. Get on base by any means necessary. Then you can put Julio in a position to do some damage at that point. But yeah, I both with Ohtani and with Soto, I think that there are very low chances that we would be able to get either of those two guys for similar and for different reasons. All right, so Julio comes up now. He did have the first hit of the game out the gate for our Mariners. So let's see if he can do it again here. Come on, Julio. Umpire's given Verlander 2 inches off the plate on either side. He's pretty tough already. And if the umpire is going to give you 2 inches on either side of the plate, off of the plate as well, it's damn near going to make it impossible to hit this mofo. He doesn't need help. My man's got a 1.7 whatever ERA. Like, please do not widen the zone, umpire. Thank you. These are 2 inches off the plate. It's not touching black anywhere near the black. It's in the brown. And it's a brown call, if you know what I mean. Frazier takes the lead from the side. Verlander a little worried about him. Makes a couple throws over there to that side. Or a throw over there. Delivery. Outside 1-1. Mariners are 53 for 71 this year in stolen base opportunities. It's pretty good. Of course, the analytic people hate stolen bases. They tell you it's not worth it for the risk. Julio wiggles the bat. Takes one little step outside as Verlander again seems very worried about what's going on with Frazier at first base. Julio wiggles, gets set, swing and a miss. Slider went right across the plate. Ended up far outside. Just some great movement on it. Julio obviously sitting dead red fastball there. No doubt about it. All right, 1-2 now. See if he can stay alive, and Verlander's going to go right back that same pitch. Slider, bend it off the plate. Give it that heavy action and movement. And see if you can get him to get out, swing out the zone, and wide out the zone. And Julio shows you the maturation and process, even on even within a count. You know, you got me to make the mistake on that swing, the last one. I'm not going to let you do it to me again. Though again, he set up outside. They're going to try once more. Ball gets back over the inner part of the plate. Fastball, 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and Julio just gets up underneath it, as many of the Mariner batsmen have today so far. They're doing a good job of getting contact. It's like I said, it's almost, if it's not this, it's like this, where they've got the ball measured, they got their swing ready to go, and they're measuring the ball to be coming in at this plane, but then it ends up at just maybe another little inch above the plane of where it was going to be, and thus causing it to become a pop-up instead of a ball that's hit with any kind of force. Drawn Evers says, come on, Seattle, you need to beat them Astros. I know, man. We can't let them get into this they own us thing. We got to stop that. We got to be at least competitive. I'm not asking us to be ready for them yet this year, but let's let's at least give him a fight here, right? Spectre 7 says, Jesus, every hard hit ball is just a stupid pop-up. Nearly every one. They're just not calibrating where the final pitch location will be at, and they consistently are getting underneath it. I don't know if you can tell yourself to like try to get on top of a ball instead. You know, I mean, this is again when you do come back in my own mind to if you're more of a line drive hitter, you're not going to have as much of an issue with this stuff. If you have more of an uppercut in your swing, it's going to be more pronounced when you're off on your spot through the zone with the bat. I'm not trying to blame that wholly, but my mind goes to that when I watched the last, of the last 6, 7 batters, I think 5, 6 of them have popped it directly up into the air. Usually speaks to some kind of uppercut swing at play here. Carter says, yeah, the Astros needed any more help compared to our team. Yeah, I'm getting a little wide on the zone tonight. Robbie better get that. Okay, fine. I always say if that's the ump's zone, I always have acknowledged every ump's got his own zone, and you can bitch and moan about it, but as long as they're consistent with whatever zone they choose to pick that night for whoever you have, then I'm fine. If Robbie comes back here with an inch or two off the plate and he's not making that call, well, that's when I'm going to start complaining here. And Robbie goes low on a sinker there. It looks like ball 1. All right, the pitch to wind. Strike on the outside corner. Jose Altuve has been a bit of a Mariner killer, hasn't he? Little guy. Nice little slider on the outside part of the plate. Strike 2. Robbie works fast in there. Jose hitting a little bit better than lefties this year than righties, though he's fairly solid against both. And that pitch is well off the plate. It's not even a couple inches. That was a fastball that was a good 5, 6. I'm wondering if Robbie was like, I'm going to go hit that zone as well now. Let me see if I can get that call. That's what I would have done. I'm like, all right, Blue. Here, it's 2 inches off. What are you going to call? Slider misses low. No, that was low. That was legitimately low. All right, 3-2 pitch here to Jose. You don't want to put on the opening batter of the inning here, and especially not Jose as you're about to go into the meat of this order. The delivery, high, far outside, ball. Yeesh. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Okay. Tough way to open this one up. Daniel Holmes, how you doing, man? Welcome on the chat, buddy. Good to see you. Spectre 7, this is playing as a repeat of yesterday. Looking kind of similar, huh? I did miss yesterday's game because I was doing the live stream stuff and prepping for the show and all that. So I didn't get a chance to actually catch all of yesterday's game. I watched the highlights, but let's say called strike 1. Yuli Gurriel in the lineup here, 237, 7 home runs. It's always a power move. Gurriel's got that over the head, Edgar Martinez-like swing, where you got it. Soto's like this too, where you get that bat far up over the head, and then you end up as the pitch is coming down, pulling it down, and then coming all the way through the plate. I tried it a few times. I could never maintain swing control whenever I tried to use one of those. And that's a base hit that just bounces through. The runner on first is holding the first baseman. Gurriel just bounces it high off the area where normally the first baseman would be. Good piece of hitting by him. That's where it shows again. You're trying to make solid contact rather than lift every ball. Just make solid contact and good things happen. And even when they're on that pitch where he swung somewhat out of the zone, Just put the barrel of the bat on the ball and let it do the work. Shout out DK for 4 years. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. So glad that contract was done. They made my day yesterday seeing that news. I get to watch this guy for the next 4 years, and I think he's going to make some great plays. We're going to enjoy his fire, competitiveness, and his production. Okay, Robbie's got himself into a bit of a jam here. 2 runners on. Yordan Alvarez up at the plate right now. In 293 with runners in scoring position, and he quickly swings up against the stupid ass. I'm really hating this shift crap. I really do. And Robbie, like, I don't know if he's just off of his positioning. I hope they re-show this. I need to see this pitch again. You've got a shift on a left-handed batter, and you're pitching to the outside part of the plate. Yeah. Robbie's missing his spots tonight. See, last week was tough luck. Tonight, Robbie's missing his spots. The home run was right over the middle of the plate. You've got a shift on. You have to put it in on his hands on the shift. You cannot miss outside. Because if you miss outside, he's going to be easily able to just do what he did there, which is flick it over to the outfield side like it's nothing. Come on, Robbie. Baseball's so much better played without the shift, man. Because this is what it does, is it just puts the pitchers into the box of staying onto the inside part of the plate. And you get these cockamamie, and I'm bringing that word back, cockamamie base hits knocked through weird holes that wouldn't be there normally. I'm just over and over again, you see it. Pitch on the outside part of the plate. He does get a little bit of, that was, I think, a strike, but that was a close borderliner there. I was wondering if the ump was going to give that wide zone on both sides. First and second, nobody out here. Astros with a run, up 2-0. Robbie almost balked. Robbie just about balked there. Spectre says, let's get DK in this lineup. Bat him in front of Winker, honestly. I don't know. Could it be worse? You know he'd have good power. And Seattle is playing this straight up right now. Playing for the double play. Outside, ball 1-1. King Pokemon Nation. Alvarez says, it's my mom's birthday. Well, happy birthday to Mother Alvarez. I hope it's a great birthday at that, and you're treating your mom well. Tell her you love her. Sector says, yeah, Ray's missing tonight. Yeah, I mean, he just put like right there, $95 million, and Cal's looking at him. You can tell Cal's body language. Looks right back at Robbie after that pitch, like, Rob. Like, he didn't look back at the foul. He looks right back at Robbie, like, bro. And Robbie senses it as well. He goes to the back of the mound there, takes a deep breath, gets some talcum powder on his hands. Come on, buddy. You're a little high on your plane. Get it down. Drive down with it. And that ball's then sent into the gap. This will be a double, if not worse. Winker gets a line on it, throws it on in. That will score 2 here. And that will be a double for Bregman. Robbie just does not have his location tonight at all. And you can see there's Raleigh's setting up on the plate prior to the pitch in a spot. Post pitch, it's ending up in a far different spot. And specifically on that pitch, he was set up on the outside part of the plate and it came in. Previous pitch, set on the outside part of the plate, and he ended up missing high, and Bregman just missed that pitch, which was a 94-mile-an-hour fastball right in the meaty part of the plate. And he's not going to, a guy like Bregman, as good a hitter as he is not going to miss 2 times in a row. Daniel Holmes says Yordan is scary. He is. They got at least legitimately, as it stands right now, 3 scary guys in this lineup to me. Alvarez, Altuve is still scary, even just for the fact that he destroys the Mariners, and Bregman is right there for me. Those are the 3 guys that I'm just, whenever they come to the lineup, I'm like, this is going to be a problem. So the Astros take an early 4-0 lead here in the 3rd inning. 94-mile-an-hour fastball gets Kyle Tucker 0-1 here, or 0-2 now, Ray. See if Robbie can hold this down. We do need him to eat up some innings here. That bullpen has been taxed since the All-Star break. Knocked out. Foul. Spectre 7 says that blows it, honestly. We need someone to have an angry speech in the dugout. Well, I would say so. I mean, I would say as far as, look, this seems to be a problem for the Astros. We handled the Rangers okay, but even in the Rangers series, the offense really wasn't there. And what these guys got to do is they got to come together, I feel like, to a certain degree from a hitter standpoint and say, look, we're all swinging out here at times like we're a little better than we really are. And some of us need to take a good, long, hard look at our batting average right now, at the amount of pitches we're taking, at our level of patience, at the amount of strikeouts, and ask ourselves, are we trying to do too much, which is then harming the team because we're not getting those results? And maybe we need to take more of and Robbie does get a strikeout there. It was a nice pitch. Boy, when he has hit on his spots, he's been on the black or right on the edge of the zone. It's just, he's not been able to consistently find that spot all day. Because if you get into being more of a team of, okay, we're taking pitches now, we're going to draw our share of walks, we're going to get a little deeper into counts, we're going to commit a little bit more to trying to foul off pitches rather than swinging in as two-strike pitch the very same way that we swung at the first and second strike pitch. Those are things missing from this lineup that you can control. You're not going to make your hitters better. You're not going to make guys more talented or more able. But you can control your approach. And that's the one spot with these guys I watch with them where I go, okay, what is I'm looking at times for guys with the plan at the plate and how they're trying to attack in a bat or whether or not they're just up there flailing and reactive to everything they're seeing, which is a little bit of what I think is going on right now. 1-0 pitch here to Jeremy Pena. Gets a swing strike there. Nice pitch on the outside part of the plate by Robbie. 1-1. Daron Ever says, do we play them again after the series? It's a good question, Daron. I was just bringing up I got the schedule brought up, but then I forgot to do it. We do play them back at the end of August. Or no, we don't. Hold on. I got to look to next month. Inside, so that'll be 2-1. So let's look at August. And then let's look at September. This is it. This is it this year for the Astros. Swing and a miss, 2-2. So this is definitely once we get through this 4-game set with them, a bit of a different ball game at that point. 2-2 now. So Robbie can work himself out of this and keep us somewhat in this game here. That ball hit hard, but foul, opposite field. And boy, does it ever kind of stand out when you do look at the schedule. I mean, you've got in August, you're going to be playing the Angels home and away. You're going to get, yes, the Yankees home and away, but then you got the Athletics home and away. Tigers home and away into September. The Nationals home away. September, Padres will be a little tough. Then you got the White Sox. Guardians are all right. They're good. They're definitely good. But then more Rangers and Athletic games in there along with the Royals. I mean, you have a winnable schedule through this next 2 months after you get through this Astros-Yankees stint. Highly, highly winnable games. And Ray has gotten a little bit careful here after getting him here in a bit of a bind. He's now into a 3-2 count. Comes set here with the delivery. Runner gets his lead at second. Robbie doesn't even look back at him. Draws the walk. Robbie already up to 77 pitches here and not even through 3 innings. We will be back into the bullpen again tonight. Don't be surprised you see that Dipoto trade coming down the track for a starter and maybe a starter and a bullpen arm at this point. And we're going to get a mound visit by the pitching coach here. Come on, Robbie. Got to lock in, buddy. Daniel Holmes says, Jesus, the Angels right now are just pain watching them play. It is, but their pain is going to be our gain, Daniel, because we're going to need some of these teams that we can beat up on. I'm looking at the high end of this year getting in. It's almost like our Seahawks this year. Like your high end of your Hawks this year is probably just getting into the playoffs. You're not going to get in there by a wide margin, but you might get in there, and then anything can kind of happen. You know, sort of just playing with like, yeah, the odds are going to be long, and first pitch strike, nice job there. The odds are going to be long of you doing anything if you do get in the playoffs, and Astros or Yankees are very likely to bounce you. But like I said, anything can happen when you get in the playoffs. And if you're playing your best ball at that time of year, if your hitters are hitting their best, if there's that certain synergistic energy that ball's hit on a line of the gap. Oh, Lewis makes a nice play. Throws it back in. I thought that was going to get over his head. He didn't look like he was even doing kind of a full run, but he just had it locked in, I guess, the whole time. So that will be 2 outs. Astros are getting some good swings here on Robbie Ray, though, even on the outs. So to me, it's just about getting in the playoffs, which means we're going to have to stack up our share of wins here. We're going to need like those 3-game sweeps against the Rangers, and that's where we can kind of make our hay. It's not the best of approaches, I get it. It's not the ideal. We'd like to see them beating on the best of the best, but like I've been saying, this is a team on its rise. It's acceptable if we're not staying toe-to-toe with these teams that are right in the middle of their run. Robbie comes set now. 0-1, 94, again at the top of the zone. That fastball is just a little bit high for my liking right now. I wish he was down about 4 more inches here with that. He's not Verlander with that. You know, he gets it to 94, and it can look like, well, Verlander's only a 95, but I just don't think he's got quite that ability to go in there and dominate the top of the zone like that if that's where he wants to live in a ball game. Good pitch there, though. 4-seamer inside, just missed off the plate, 1-1. Tony, I agree. I'm happy with this team's growth so far. Can't complain. No, me neither, man. Me neither. It's the same thing, and I hate drawing the parallel between the Hawks and Mariners, but it's kind of there. It's like why I'm happy with what I see in the direction of the team, the Hawks, right now, because they're taking an approach that I've been advocating for the last couple of years. Inside, off the plate on a slider, 2-1. Don't get nibbly here with Dubon. Well, you can get nibbly here with Dubon. You got Maldonado on deck, but you sure would like to just shut this down right now. But in taking a patient approach, in taking the approach where we're not going to build this team through free agency or through big major trades at every turn, but we're going to do this through building the farm system first, you're going to, especially with baseball, which is a real developmental sport above all else, more than any other sport. That's why you have low A and high A and double A and triple A. You have all, you got all these different levels you got to go through just to get to major league because you have to develop your skill set. And so I have patience if the full results of what we want, a 100-win season, winning the division, beating out the Astros, yeah, that's what we want to see. But I will be willing to let it take a little bit of time to get there. And Robbie bounces the ball on the plate on 3-1. And that will bring up Maldonado. Service looks like he's about ready to go make a pitching change. He's thinking about it. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to make it. Robbie just didn't have his stuff tonight. No other way around it. Just did not have a feel for what he was doing, and just the control wasn't there mainly. Robbie's a pitcher. He's a more toolsy version than a guy like Marco Gonzalez. And whereas Gonzalez in an extreme way has got to hit his spots night in, night out, be able to mix his pitches in right, cannot live in the middle of the plate. Robbie is the same way. He can just be a little more dominating in how he goes about it versus Marco in his approach. But today, lived over the middle of the plate, high over the middle of the plate, which is a double doozy of a no-no. Couldn't get that ball low at the knees at all. Just couldn't get anything with his arm angle. I don't know if it's a release point situation or what. When he does end up high like that, sometimes it's you trying to overthrow the ball a little bit too much. And he definitely had some of those sliders that he was grounding, which is kind of further evidence of that being what was going on. But coming off the last start with him, I thought he pitched way better in that other start where he was just having some tough luck. TJ says at least Tigers up on Blue Jays. That's good to hear. That is good to hear. Spectre 7 says outside of the Astro Rays has been on a tear recently. What's your overall opinion of Ray? Great, good, not great. I think he's good, not great. I think he went, he started out on that really rough point where everybody was like, oh, this is an awful deal. And then he was amazing for a set of time. And now he's coming back down to life post All-Star break. And I think that what he's really been throughout kind of his career is kind of what he is. He is a really solid number 2. He's not an ace type. He's not a guy that's going to overpower teams. He's not got the top end of a George Kirby. George has got a much further higher end, as we've seen Logan Gilbert. But that doesn't mean he's bad, and that doesn't mean the contract's bad in giving it out to him. I still say it's a good contract. I still say that at the end of the day, he's going to be worth it. You've got to build rotation guys in there like them. You're not going to stack a whole rotation of aces across the board. That just doesn't occur in baseball outside of, I think, I've only seen teams really get to a point of doing like 3, sometimes dipping into the 4th. But 3 seems like the top end on the number of aces you can put into a rotation, like not the Astros, but the Athletics did a couple years ago when they had like the Zito, Hudson, I forget who the third guy was, but they put the trifecta. And remember, the Braves had Glanville, Smoltz, and Maddox, and they were the one that had the 4th because they had that 4th kid come in for a while, for a hot minute. But even that wasn't sustained for a very long period of time. So I think Robbie's going to be okay long term, but he's not going to be a dominating starter in this league. He's not a Cy Young award-winning pitcher. He happened to win it last year. He had his best year professionally, but at the same point in time, I'll take with what he got. That contract was not insane that we paid him out. It was a lot of money. Yeah, you're spending out, but it was well within reason for what he's going to give you. Maldonado up now, swing and a miss on first pitch. Maldonado has never seen a pitch he doesn't like to swing at. Buffets and strike zones. Maldonado eats them up both. He is a free swinger. Guy's got 10 home runs in the year, so he is dangerous here in this situation. Ooh, he almost, check. No? Okay. Slider far outside, almost got him to swing. I throw another one of those sweeping sliders on the outside part of the plate here. He didn't look comfortable in that. Arthur Robinson says our Mariners are playoff contenders, need a couple of players to take the next step, and we would be in the race. I'm with you, Arthur. I'm with you. I agree. I think Dipoto has every bit of reason to be very aggressive here at this trade deadline. I don't want him to sacrifice the future wholly, like going all out. We're not going to push every one of our chips into the center of the table for this particular season, but I am okay with making some aggressive moves, parting with certain guys. I'm going to be okay with that. And I do think we're going to see something, Arthur. I don't know if it'll be enough to get us to where we need to get to, but I think it'll be enough to keep us at least competitive in this throughout the rest of the season, no matter what. So I'm very confident there. Murphy comes set now, 1-2 here on Maldonado. Bases loaded. Outside, 2-2. Do not get too overthrowy here, guys. 2 outs. Duran says, did you see the Astros got swept by the Athletics? I did. Thank God for that. At least they're somewhat mortal, Duran. All right, Martin Maldonado takes a step out of the batter box, gets a breath here. It does show they're not unbeatable, Duran. It shows you can get after this team. I mean, you got to play better than you played against them, but it can be done. The pitch smacked on the ground to Ty France. He's right on it, and he makes the final play. Out number 3, and that will retire the side. The damage is limited. Robbie Ray over there taking some deep breaths over in the dugout, shaking his head. Tough day for him. Tough day for the guy. Some days you just don't have your feel for it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Rory Alter says the Astros are just fine against teams that don't suck, but unlike the Yanks, who don't want to see the Astros in October, the Astros won't have that problem with the A's. Yeah, I think it was a fluky 3-game sweep. You know, like I said, it does show that they're mortal, but it's just a fluky. You know, they just came off that big series against us just after the All-Star break. I'm sure they were hyped out of their minds to beat us on the road and show them that they were still the Kings. And then you come off that series and you kind of like let out a little exhale against an athletics team that'll, you know, is still a professional team. They can jump on you. TJ says longest half inning ever. Yeah, that was brutal. Sector 7 says, do you think they could promote Brash back to starting pitcher if we trade away a starter in the offseason or flex and walks? No. Historically speaking, when a pitcher tends to make the transition from starter to bullpen, they tend to remain in the bullpen. That's where it goes. And I would lean more into that as the general rule of thumb when it comes to this over him being able to transition back into a starting point. I think the team looks at it like, you know, you got Gilbert, Kirby, Ray, 3. Hancock comes up eventually for you as your 4. And then they're figuring the 5 will come from somewhere else. But they did see something with Brash that made them believe that he's better to go into the bullpen than he is starting. And I'll trust him on that decision. They've done pretty good here with these young starters they're bringing up so far here. So if they've seen something in him to say, let's just send him in the bullpen. And quite honestly, I like a Mariner team in general terms built with great defense and a dominating bullpen. And bullpen's the tough one because year to year it fluctuates and it's hard to build it as this dominant component of your team because of how much fluctuation you do get from player performance in that pen year to year. Nonetheless, again, the umpire giving Verlander 2 inches on the outside part of the plate and then 2 inches now on the top part of the plate. And goes 0-1 here to tie. Thank you, umpire. Somebody doesn't want to be in that Texas heat tonight. 0-1 here to tie. Tough break there, Ty. Good eye. Verlander has given up just 1 hit through 3 innings. And Ty gets up under that ball. What a shocker, huh? Another Mariner batter gets up underneath a pitch. Just can't seem to get on top of any of these Verlander pitches at this point. Roy Alters has just joined. Have you talked about Verlander? Not much about him as far as I think last week, much like with Robbie Ray pitching better last week, I think Verlander was pitching a little bit better last week's game in Seattle. He's not bad today. He's been not giving up a run through 3 innings and a third, so he's still been great. He doesn't look like he is just quite as pinpoint in his delivery today and in his control, but nonetheless, Mariner hitters are still not able to do much with him, and they keep popping the ball up. Santana takes a first pitch slider strike inside. Kind of talked about a little bit earlier, Rory, with him. Don't speak a lot about with it, but just with Verlander and his delivery and how he can kind of hide that ball with the delivery. That mid coming down as he's coming set mid delivery, and it's a lot of moving parts before he finally gets to the pitch point, and your eyes get drawn away from that as a batter kind of naturally. Misses on ball 1 now, 1-1. Boy, Verlander gave him a pitch to hit up in the zone, 94 miles an hour, and Santana just sort of turned it over. Santana's such a dead pull hitter on those. He just doesn't have any ability to go with it the other way. And if he just goes with it the other way, he can put that thing up into the left field gap with a just gentle flick of the wrist. I think he's probably too little long in the tooth at this point to develop that. It's also a little bit when you have that open stance, it causes you to make it tougher to sometimes go the other way, especially if you got that little leg kick like he has. Because the leg kick will go up and it'll come back down in naturally usually the same place that it starts from. So you have to really teach in that muscle memory to get the leg kick to come up and then come down a couple inches a little bit more forward on the plane from where you started, so then you have the plate coverage to reach the outside part of the plate, but not just reach it, then be able to go with the pitch to the opposite field with power. And with Santana, he fouls off that ball. With Santana, you can see it on his leg kick. He comes back, and the leg kick comes still landing in the same place that he sets out of. So that's going to help him on pitches inside, right? That's that nice part of having that open stance is you get two eyes on the pitch. You can see it coming in, and then your shoulder's naturally going to be kind of in already while your hips are a little bit opened to be able to have better plate coverage on that stuff inside. But you do cost yourself a little bit on that outside corner, which is exactly where Verlander's setting up. Gets him to swing, and he almost got a strikeout on it. He barely was able to tick it. So Verlander's very well aware of this as well with him here. He's got Santana again in a 1-2 count here. This is when he likes to drop in old Mr. Uncle curveball here. I bet you he's thinking about setting that in. Let's see. No, comes right back with a fastball. And what did he do, folks? Popped it up. That's right. Mariner hitters getting up under every pitch tonight. If you've had through three or four, through almost 4 innings here, which means you're 11 outs in this game. 9 of those outs have been on pop flies up into the air. Verlander's got a rising fastball, which is naturally going to cause you to probably hit that up in the air just normally, but it's sort of the story of the game on why the bats are cold today from my standpoint. Eugenio Suarez up the plate now, 0-1 on a pitch up high. That the umpire had called a strike on just not the previous batter, but the batter before. Verlander at a mere 43 pitches here, much like last week, working fast. 1-0 delivery. Outside. And again, the umpire is going to give Verlander 2 inches off the plate tonight. Another poor call. Look at that on the pitch tracker, folks. Look at that BS on the pitch tracker. Get that. What the hell is this guy looking at tonight? 1-1. Up high. 2-1. Robo-ump. Robo-ump. Roy Alter says he also has a pretty cute wife. He does, man. Living the dream. Living that great dream. All right, 2-1 pitch here to Eugenio. Swing. Gonna miss outside. Up high. Out of the zone. Daniel Holmes says, I don't blame him for struggling with Verlander, but still. I don't either. I mean, he's a tough pitcher to hit. He's hard. I mean, look, best starter in the league right now. I mean, he is dominating everybody, and he gets Eugenio to swing at a slider there for strike 3. Does a little jump off, pumped. Got to give the guy credit. All these years he's been in this game to still be doing it like he is and dominating like he is. I mean, he's doing it legitimately. Especially because now we're out of that hand tack era crap, right? So you can't even say it's that he's just putting stickum on his fingers. No, he's just dominating these suckers. Dominating them. I do think you can control a little bit with it, though. It's the part where I wonder, and I could be wrong on this. I'd love to hear a thought of a major league hitter on this topic, which is if you're seeing all these guys pop this up, is it not indicative that you have guys with these? There's a little too much uppercut in their swing, and it needs to be a little bit more of a steadying through the zone type situation. It's the thing you saw with Ichiro through the years. Ichiro's one of the greatest things that he did in his swing was that, and this is why they would compare it to like a tennis racket when Ichiro would swing a baseball bat, because the bat was coming very long through the zone, and it was on an even plane. And if Ichiro had to drop his back knee down to get a little bit lower, he could lower that plane down and still even reach on lower pitches. And he had enough bat control to hit the high pitches as well, but that bat always came through the zone for a very long period of time. And there was a good chance it was going to make solid contact with the baseball because of that. But if you've got a bat that's coming up through the zone like this, that's chopping like a samurai sword up through the zone, there's just less of a zone in there for it to make solid contact and go do something that's going to help you out, as far as finding a hole or whatnot. There's just a higher likelihood of you popping those balls up. And if you got a guy that's hitting, like Julio, for instance, on track to hit 35 home runs a year, Even a guy like Eugenio, maybe you can put up with that a little bit and say that's the price of doing business to get that kind of power production that is desperately needed on this team. But if you're Dylan Moore, Mr. Frazier, Mr. Winker, Mr. Santana, you're these guys. It's not a suitable excuse because you're not providing that other aspect of it. Sector 7 says the ump knows the Astros outclass us this year. He is. He's just like, let's just finish the inevitable here. Let's get this thing closed out. We know where this is going. Daniel says, yeah, for some reason the hitters aren't making that adjustment. I don't get it. I mean, you had the similar situation last week where they were just swinging at these pitches through the zone and they could not. A lot of them were, again, meaty on the white, top of the zone fastballs that they just couldn't do anything with. And when you're swinging and missing, and now that at least in this game they're making some contact, there isn't as many strikeouts in this game. You can make some adjustments as a hitter, and if your whole lineup's kind of doing it up and down, quite frankly, Scott Surface as a manager in that moment has got to be like, okay, guys, what are we all doing here? We're all hitting it up in the air. I'm not asking you guys to modify your swing here mid-season, but let's start thinking about staying patient in these counts, number one. And number two, just trying to get solid contact on the ball rather than trying to drive everything. Let's first get back to a solid contact state. Then we get back to trying to drive everything down the field. That ball's hit on the ground, past the shift. How often you guys hear me say that on these streams? Past the shift by Gurriel, who did it on his last at bat, I think, by the way. Or he had just had that little nubber. Either way, it's a base hit now with one out. Murphy back out here for a second inning. Yuli's having a great series, 3 for 6 now. I hate this. You guys are gonna get tired of me hearing me say it. I really hate the shift. I'm so glad Major League Baseball is taking this away. It's creating such silly, stupid situations where the ball's going through where you're going, what the hell? Should be an easy play there for a second baseman. I wonder how the analytics stat nerds calculate that, because they tell these major league teams to do these shifts. Like, how much are you truly calculating in all of these hits that are getting through on these other sides? I'll stop moaning about it. Just kind of silly that it seems like they're just doing the math on one side of that. We're taking away 4 hits a game in the outfield grass, but you're losing 6 hits a game on the other way, the way the hitter's going with it. So trouble. We got a 2-0 count here to Yordan Alvarez. Murphy comes set. Dangerous pitch here. Up inside, ball 3. Got to figure here Yordan's going to have a big, fat, double green light to swing. Having one of the great years of OPS in Astros history. Wedged right between Jeff Bagwell and Lance Bergman. It's good company. And they just miss in the low. I think Murphy was just like, I ain't risking it. Mariner pitchers tonight really kind of struggling and finding their location. I don't know if it's the hot night in Houston, and maybe it's just making them super sweaty and their hands a little slick and they can't get that control and you don't got that sugar tack anymore. Get that sugar tack. Rory says walks on 4 pitches. I think he got him to 3-0, Rory, and he's like, I want no part of the next 2 pitches of trying to nibble the zone. This guy's going to destroy me. He said, I'll put 2 guys on and go to Bergman, who still is dangerous himself, but at least he's 243 and not setting Houston Astros records for OPS. Outside, ball 1. Okay, Murph, you're going to have to kind of put the... Boy, I don't know, man. Maybe the Astros are just kind of up in our head a little bit. You know, you watch us playing that Rangers series, and just this one, you see guys just playing a little bit. 2-0 now. That's what I'm talking about. Just doesn't look comfortable. Can't seem to find a spot. Keeps readjusting his uniform, playing with the ball, licking his fingers, wiping his butt. Can't quite figure out what he wants to do here. The roof's not open, Rory, so it's not the heat then. Ray was sweating like a mofo. All right, here's delivery of 2-0. Hit hard into the gap. That ball is going to land. Winker's right on it. Here comes down around. He will score 5-0. You go down 2-0, you got to leave him something, and you go 2-0 on pitches that are wildly overthrown, and then you got to try to go back into the zone. And as he did in his last bat, this is exactly what Bregman did in his last bat to Ray. Get on top of that count, get yourself into a favorable situation for you so that you can look for a pitch in a given position in a given spot on the plate, and then you're going to be able to have a high likelihood of doing something with it. Because if it's then going to be a slider off the plate or something else, you're just not going to, you'll take it. If he throws it for a strike, so be it. But if he comes at you with that fastball, as he did, right in the middle, you'll line it, you'll drive it. Good hitting by Alex Bregman there. Bregman's wearing the Mariners out. He is. I mean, but he's also doing it by the Mariners sort of like, he's stabbing him with the knife, but the pitchers are putting the knives right up over their chest and then facing the handle towards Bregman. Now he's pushing the knife into the chest, but it's the Mariner pitchers setting it up for the stabbing to occur. That ball hit hard right at Lewis. Gets the ball in. 2 outs now. All right. Pena's going to step up to the plate here with 2 men on. Goodness. Tough game for the Mariners here, man. Astros just have our number right now. Psst. 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 I'm going to go pull my cats off each other in a second. One of them likes to bully the other one. Oh, hold on. Okay. I hear you getting in there. All right, Julio comes in and makes a catch on the final out there, so that will be it. Tire the side. 5-0 Astros. Whew. Tough game, folks. Tough game today. Murphy just couldn't get his feel for the control of the strike zone there. Bregman took advantage. Robbie the same way. This Astros lineup is too good. You know, if you pitch him well, and like we saw with Gilbert yesterday, you know, you can keep him down a little bit. You make mistakes, you miss your spots, and you do those things consistently over the course of a 4-inning period, you're going to end up with a 5-0 game. That's what good baseball teams do. Ethan says this ain't good. Robbie is already out. Not out of reach, but it's not out of reach. Not out of reach, but it's definitely in a dark place right now. I mean, you are behind the 8 ball here. I guess the only one thing is maybe you can hope is that maybe Verlander eases up a little bit and he feels a little bit more like he can just go after the zone now even more and starts giving you even better pitches at this point to try to do something with it. And if that occurs, then maybe you got something there. It's a little rough right now. Sector 7 says, I literally got a free trial to FUBU just to watch us get swept right out of the break. Super hyped, ultra pregame. I'm a bit broken, but this is not a new ground as a Mariner fan. No, it's not. I get what you're saying on that. I mean, it's, as I say, I understand those folks that are a little annoyed at how long this has been that it's taken to get to a point of this team getting to any kind of competitive state. And but it's where I caution in the approach, and I say just have some faith in the respect of young teams are highly inconsistent, and you'll have magnificent ups and dreadful downs, and you weather through those storms, and you eventually have a team that finds its way around to learning how to win. You have a roster that slowly comes together from the farm system, and then you're put in a good position because you've done it organically to then add from the outside in, and that's when we're cooking with gas. Joe Trippy says Verlander's a beast. He is a beast. He just is. What's his ERA at right now? Let me look at this. So he's at 1.80 as an ERA right now. It's ridiculous. 39 years old. I mean, come on. And the umpire continues to give the 3 inches off the plate strike to Justin Verlander. Look at that damn pitch tracker, folks. What is going on, ump? Blue. That's 3 inches. Scott, if I was Scott and I was trying to light a fire tonight, I might come out there and get myself thrown on this type of deal. I might just do it just to do it. I don't know. Team needs a little bit of a little fire tonight in their belly. Those pitches are BS. 1-1 here now. JP up at the plate. JP fights off a ball. This is going to go out into center. And he's there for the catch. 1 out. Dan Holmes says at least it's not 2019. Exactly. At least we're not at the beginning of the beginning. At least we're not on the first step of the journey towards the rebuild. We're now into the maturation process of the rebuild, which is much more exciting. Sector 7 says, oh, dude, I'd be screaming at the ump and stand up for my lineup. As would I. As would I. That's got to be about the seventh or 8th pitch I've seen he's missed in this game. Verlander set. Here's the pitch. Inside. Now that was a little closer. That's right there on the black. So great pitch by Verlander there. Is that a curve that he dropped in there? Changeup. Good luck against this guy. 1-1 here now to Lewis. Hits it high, deep into the air. Center fielder's back, but he's got a line on this to one of the deeper portions of the park there. Out number 2. Lewis gave it a little bit of a ride, but just couldn't quite do anything with it. Quickly 2 outs here. Ethan says, what an awful stadium, so ugly. I don't like the outfield. Didn't they originally have a hill out there? And then they took the hill out. It never seemed like they had a very good idea of what they wanted to do out there. And it doesn't have a lot of, to me, it doesn't have any kind of real personality to it. And it certainly isn't Cal Raleigh first pitch swinging. Base runner's there, but he manages to get an error on the play and then try to flip the ball to the pitcher, and Cal gets lucky. Again, Cal first pitch swinging. Look at the pitch tracker. First pitch swinging on a ball 3 inches off the plate. You have a lot of people in this lineup trying to do too much right now. Too much. Everybody's trying to get 5 runs back in one swing here. All right, Raleigh is the first Mariner player that's been aboard since Frazier drew a walk a couple of innings ago. Winker's going to come to the plate now. See if he can do anything here. Come on, Jesse. That's right, Ethan. Rory Alter says Tull's Hill with a flagpole on it was awful. That was the worst legit idea. Swing and a miss by Winker on his first pitch. Change up. That was the worst idea ever. You're gonna have center fielders running uphill trying to track a damn baseball. So it was obviously not designed by a baseball fan. It's like what's next? Let's get what's that thing we got down in Seattle? Let's put a merry-go-round in center fielder. Then the center fielder have to jump on the merry-go-round and spin it to the side, and he has to jump off of it and then grab it. Wouldn't that be cool? And then we can have kids on the merry-go-round mid-play, and then what if you were to run into some kids? That'd be awesome, right? Here's the 0-1 delivery. Bounced foul by Winker. That looked like a curve or a slider there. Did he give him this? Yeah, that was a curve. But now they've taken out the hill, right, Rory? And it's just this empty, vacuous area in this center field. It's kind of, it's weird. You put it down the lines, you can get it out, especially because the ball carries there well, but it's a weird center field. Winker literally throws his bat at the ball, manages to knock it foul. The bat ends up rolling right at Verlander's feet. You know a pitcher's pitching well when he's knocking the bat out of the hitter's hands. You know it's going well for him. Jeez, Jesse. It's like Jesse let go of the bat mid like at the last part of his swing. He just sort of let it go. Alex says, well, the Crow's Nest is making the best of the stupid game. Thank you, Alex. I'd love to say that's what I'm here to do at this point when we have to suffer through these kind of affairs. Verlander, the delivery high. Nice job by Winker to not be too free swinging there. 1-2. Yeah, Ethan, that's a good call. This stadium is. They got like 4 ad signs just behind the plate. Like they couldn't sell just one. And that's knocked back 1 and 2. Like you have Reliant. Coca-Cola's got 2 signs and then something about win it all 2 times over on the other side. I mean, you talk about overkill. They've even got like academy.com on the green part that's around where the. I mean, maybe I'm probably being a hypocrite because our stadium's probably filled with exactly the same amount, but my gosh. And Jesse swings and fouls off a very tough pitch, 1-2. That slider was whipping down into the zone. It had some heavy movement to it, and he managed to just get it turned foul. It's where it's like good to see, I think, there where you're seeing Jesse kind of like shorten your swing up a little bit there. Verlander's pitching in pretty tough in this at bat. He hasn't given him any really good pitches to hit. Here's the Y in the delivery. 96-mile-an-hour fastball high. Winker just waves at it. Doesn't even come close to hitting it. Strike 3. Winker does continue to struggle in this lineup. His average continues to plummet. This is one of the reasons why that he is being batted number 8 in the lineup tonight. The guy has just been on a very rough road here lately. And again, a guy that you look at last year and what you thought you were getting from the National League in this trade. And I'll tell you what, the Reds are coming out better in this trade than they were at the time. A lot of people were hating him on that trade, but it's looking a lot better in retrospect. Winky. I'm going to call him. He's Winky right now until he earns the right to have his ER added back to his name. Okay? So I'm referring to him as Winky now, like a Twinkie, because he's soft, a little gooey on the inside. But Winky last year with the Reds, 305, 24 home runs, 53 walks and 75 strikeouts. So he almost was right around the same amount of strikeouts as he had walks for the year. He's already this year got 69 strikeouts. So he's 6 strikeouts off of his pace from last year and where he was at. You talk about asking a guy to come in and just hit your baseball card. We don't need you to hit 305 like you did last season. You know, we don't maybe need you to hit 24 home runs. Why don't you give me 275 and 15 jacks? Your left-handed swing should fit well with our stadium. I don't know, he might get up to 15, but that's almost as much as well. Last year, he did all that damage with those 24 home runs on 423 at-bats. He's already at 323 at-bats. So he might still get himself up there with those home runs, but it might be just by the sheer number of volume of at-bats they end up giving him. One reason why I say once Mitch Haniger comes back, I certainly have no problem putting him right into the lineup at that point. But this is the tough luck of what you've run into recently at times in trading for players. Where it's like you think you're bringing something in that's this, and not only is it not that, but it's nowhere close to what it's been even historically. And you don't have a great reason for why it suddenly falls off the shelf like that. You know, what's your reasoning, you know? Oops, sorry guys. Let me get the feedback on here. My bad. Alex says, how is it possible to be this good if you're the Astros? The way it's possible to do it, I believe, is through one approach. You can be a great team that can go win a World Series or two by assembling a team, by not necessarily doing it organically. There was a Marlin team in the original, I think they've won 2 World Series, and I can't believe they have, but I think they've won 2. And the first one that they won, I think they had gone out and spent big money and just kind of assembled that team through a lot of the major parts of it and got there. And the Yankee teams through the 90s did that. You know, I mean, they had so much money to spend. But I think the way that you get there now, if you're talking about being where the Astros are, where not only are they a dominant team, but they're a dominant team that's had a very long run of this now dominance. You know, this isn't just a couple year off thing now. We're going to be looking at, you know, a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years of this. And Cal Raleigh really giving it to Brash right now after the 1-0 count, telling him get his head out. He's giving him some good. You could tell with what he was saying to him. All right, you need to come on now. Don't mess around with this. Get in here, and you need to put these pitches in. We need to have a chance in this game. Just once again, just the control Raleigh has behind the plate, his control of the pitching staff, a part that very few people are going to give credit towards, and you have to give a lot of credit towards because it is so important on a baseball team. And Brash amped up on that next pitch at 97 miles an hour in a little inside for 2-0. Do not walk the opening batter here, Brash. Go after these hitters. If they come out here and they win this now 10-0 because they're just demolishing pitches all over the place, fine. But a big problem with this game has been the lack of control and keeping the ball in the zone, having control of the zone by both Murphy and Robbie Ray in this game. 2-1 now here. Delivery of the wind. Swing knocked on the ground. Eugenio's got it. Comes up throwing. And he's safe. Eugenio just sort of kind of was a little bit unaggressive in how he came up on that ball. He wasn't coming up with a lot of force. Eugenio just kind of waited for the ball to come into him a bit, and that gave the Astro batter some time to get out there. He was also playing deep. I mean, Eugenio wasn't he wasn't dogging it, but he also wasn't running up with a real high sense of urgency on that play either. Boy, they did have him playing back though too. So he had a long coverage area to get through to get to that grounder. Ethan, too many colors is right on that backdrop. All right, Mauricio Dubon is up now. Let's see if we can get a deuce double play ball here from some Brash. But Alex, I think that you organically put it together and you take a patient approach to building the farm system up. What happens here is that you build a farm system up, that you have stars start to develop, but then that's not the end of the road. That's not we have nothing else left back there. Now you have less pressure now theoretically on the guys coming behind the frontline guys. And now you can really take your time. There's not that sense of urgency of rushing prospects up onto the baseball team like we saw with, we had the Zunino, you saw a bit of this with. Ackley, you saw a bit of this with, where you're trying to rush these guys up there because you need their bat in the lineup. You need them on the diamond. You need them being productive players for you. And they weren't, ready. And the umpire gave us a call there. Got to give him credit for giving us a call back on that one. That 3-0 pitch was outside. That was high. But you got those guys in the front line. It gives you that patience to let those guys develop on the back end of things. And now you start to have a continual flow of prospects coming up around the major league team. And if you're doing it right, you can almost continue that onward, not theoretically forever, but indefinitely. It really comes down to when the end of that run will then come down not to how you spend your money, or who's the big free agent you sign, or who's the guy you trade. The end of that era will come down to when the farm system is unable to continue to restock things as they have. And the Astros haven't shown any signs of slowing that down because they've remained in their commitment to understanding the importance of the farm system and building up a strong one. The Mariners have only recently in the last 5 or 6 years really embraced that process in the way they have, which you have to do it not just kind of with a side-eye glance, but saying, this is really important to us. We care. We need to make this an important part of, if not the most important part of our roster building. And that's ball 4 to Dubon. Again, Mariner pitchers in this game have just been very scared to go after this Mariner lineup. That is now the 6th. That is the 6th walk in this game. You know, is it all 3 pitchers are off and all 3 pitchers don't have a feel for it tonight, or could it be a little bit of fear in this lineup and not wanting to really come after these guys today? Ethan says there's too much going on with the design of the outfield, cluttered amongst other things. Yeah, agreed. All right, Martin Maldonado. He's saved our Tuckus tonight a couple times. Excuse me. With some bad swings. So let's see if our luck can continue here as we quickly get him into an 0-2 count. Thank God for Martin. Thank God for him in this Astro lineup. If we had like Ivan Rodriguez from back in the day the Rangers had in this lineup with Astros, or some tough hitting catcher in this lineup, this would be a bloodbath. Let's get this guy to hit it on the ground. Slow-footed, get the double play, get ourselves out of this inning. There's still a chance. Tony says in cream-filled pause. Sector 7 says, Brandon, without you, I would have turned this game off an inning ago. You are my hero. Thank you, man. I like hanging out with you guys on this, and I do love talking baseball. All right, 1-2 pitch here to Maldonado. Swing and a miss on a sweeping slider across the plate. Beautiful pitch there by Brash. And again, the Maldonado gift keeps on giving. Is Maldonado related to the, what was his name, Candy Maldonado? Guy back in the 90s? Is he his son? Don't see a lot of Maldonados. It's a good name. That's a novel. That's a name you'd have in a novel. His name was Enrique Maldonado. He was the head of the family. All right, Jose Altuve is up now. The Mariner Crusher. The tiny Mariner Crusher. The tiny Mariner Hobbit Crusher. The tiny little elf crusher. Wiggles his little bat. Ball 1. That bat's bigger than Jose. If he just set that bat up next to him and be up to his neck. Brian Dunlap, Amy Frazier says, seems like the speed of the Astros is what the problem is. It's definitely a big part of it. That's a big part of it. I think there's a multitude of issues there. I think that their approach at the plate and their ability, for the most part, Maldonado is not in this territory of things, but the rest of that Astros lineup is very patient. I mean, even a pitch there like that, a nasty slider at the knees, it's middle of the plate, but Jose Altuve knows he's not doing anything with that pitch. He's probably looking fastball there. And he sits, takes a bad pitch, gets it into a 1-1 count. Jose's not a 3-time batting champion, is not scared of getting deep into counts. And you do see this in this Astro lineup. That's why they've got in this game 6 walks to the 1 walk you've drawn from Verlander. Certainly Verlander has been better at getting inside the zone and staying in there and closer to but Verlander's not the same Verlander of last week that dominated us here. He's been a little off in his pitches, and he's gotten Mariners to swing out of the zone. And that's another part of this as well. You know, them controlling counts to get themselves into advantageous situations. And I say that as Jose. Did we get a double play there? Great play by Crawford. He almost got it. Crawford got a bouncer to short. It looked like he was trying to tag the runner heading to third. Couldn't quite get the tag down on him. And then threw Altuve out at first base. You probably weren't going to be able to turn 2 here anyway if he just goes to second. Altuve probably then beats that out at first. if Crawford just immediately goes to 2. So not a bad try on his part. It was hit just a little too softly to really get a good turn 2 with a guy like Altuve up there. All right, 2 outs here for Brash. No damage done so far, kid. He can clear right out of this without any issues, though he does have, and he does want to get this guy out here in Gurriel because you do, of course, have the monster on deck. You're done. Pitches up a little high, 97 miles an hour by Brash. That will miss 1-1. Daniel says timid to throw. Timid's right. Timid throws right, yeah. That's what I saw too on that. TJ says Blue Jays are going to lose too, so we don't really lose any ground. No, we're all right. We're all right, TJ. And I'll read off again the schedule here before this thing is maybe through the next in between innings. I'm going to read off our remaining schedule because it is actually looks really good. So outside of these series, we're okay. We've got a very easy schedule through the back half of this, especially if you consider we're able to add a guy like Castillo from the Reds. Say nothing of Soto. That's not going to happen, but I just like dreaming about it. It makes no sense. Just ain't going to work. You have to give up too much assets. You only get 2 years of club control. This defense is a little questionable, but I still wouldn't mind it. All right, 1-2 pitch here to Yuli. Take care of business here, Brash. Swinging and a miss. Boy, you know a slider's got to be nasty if it gets a swing and a miss in the dirt. And indeed, that one was. He got him up in the count. This is the opposite of how you see what the Astros have been able to do the Mariners, which is that hitting, they control the count, get up 2-0, get up 2-1, and then they look for a pitch in the zone and they rake it. Well, the opposite of that is that you get a hitter in an 0-2, 1-2 count. And now you can't afford to really whip that slider across the board, overthrow it by just a hair, and you might very well get a K. Nice job by Brash there to work his way out of trouble. No damage done. Wait, is that right? Did he give up a run there? Nope, no damage done. Let's see if we can get into Verlander now. Verlander, again, 2 hits in this game, 1 walk. Continues to look very, very tough. But from a schedule standpoint, after this, we've got through the beginning of August, you're going to go to the Yankees after the other 2 games of this series, the Astros. Then you get the Angels at home, the Yankees at home, on the road against the Rangers, on the road in a 3-game series against the Angels, on the road against the Athletics, back home against the Nationals for a 2-game set. Then you got to go at home with the Guardians, on the road with the Detroit Lions, on the road with the Guardians, at home against the White Sox, at home against the Braves, at home against the Padres for a quick 2-game series. And then you're back out on the road for the Angels, Athletics, and Royals. And then you're back home for the Rangers and the Athletics. And I'll tell you guys something now. You come down to the end of it, right? And you're September 15th, and you're getting your second to last final day off of the season on this last run. Those games through that period, Angels, Athletics, Royals, Rangers, and a final game against the Athletics, September 30th, the final game of the season. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 14 games at the end of the season where there's a very good likelihood those teams are playing for nothing. They've got prospects up pitching. You've got stars like potentially Shohei Ohtani and Trout that are being rested at that point because there's no reason to play them. So those games could be very winnable if we're needing a huge stack of wins at the end of the year just to kind of push everything up over the top. That's your spot for injection right there. September 15th is injection. That's our D-Day. And Frazier steps in now, takes 1-0 against Verlander. Spectre 7, we have to pitch against Jared Goff. Did I say Jared Goff? There's ball. Jesus, this ump. This ump has been the worst called game I've seen so far this season. Look at that pitch. Frazier gets a 2-0 count, draw a walk last time. You throw a pitch 2 inches out of the zone and you call a strike. And now you get him swinging out of the zone, which that's what happens. Robo umps. I'm tired. I'm ready for the robo ump. Some silly stuff right there. Here's the pitch, 1-2. Hit up in the air, weak fly ball out to left field. He's got it. Sector 7 says you said Detroit Lions, not Tigers. That's the problem having a Seahawks channel and a Mariner channel. I got it. That's going to happen on the often, I'd imagine. I imagine it's going to happen on the often. Sector 7 says Cal seems to be one of the main reasons Seattle is one of the main Mariners still mentally locked in, trying to keep his pitchers locked in. Yeah, I agree. He's in on this. I didn't like that last at bat of his when he's first pitch swinging on a ball outside the plate. But as far as controlling the staff and keeping brash, hey, you know, that after he started kind of messing around out the gate, he's like, what are you doing here? Julio takes a big swing on the first pitch and right up over the top of it. Roy says one of Verlander's only 2 bad starts this year was against the Mariners in late May. We went at him on that one. That was we were really hitting well that day. They had him locked in. I don't know if he's just having a bad day from where he was located, but and this ball hit up high into the air, but there'll be plenty of field to play with this one. Out number 2. So quick 2 outs here by your Mariners. Verlander continues to just kind of roll right through this lineup roughshod here. No issues whatsoever. God, so wild. We're not even able right now to mount any kind of threat against him. France up now, swing and a miss on a first pitch strike. And France has to swing at that pitch. It's out of the zone there, but the umpire's been calling that a strike all day. So the pitch tracker may not show that in the zone, but if I'm a hitter at this point, Ty himself on his last at bat had that very same pitch called for a strike. 0-1 delivery here now. 2 outs, top of the 6th. Verlander with the wind and the delivery. Oh, he got a good swing on this one, folks. That's going to take it back to the wall. That ball is back, off the wall for a stand-up double. It's that part of the park where it should be a damn home run, but guess we'll just have to take a double. Great piece of hitting there by France. It took a hanging slider there. It didn't really do much sliding. It slid right out over the middle of the plate, and France stuck right on it with a great piece of hitting. Can you even hit it out of the park at that spot over there? It's like there's that spot where it's just all building going up. Again, just a stupid stadium. Again, Ethan, just to echo your thoughts on that, it's just a silly stadium. Your outfield makes no sense. All right, maybe see we got something here now. Carlos Santana up to the plate. Good job holding off by Santana there. Ball 1 up high. It's rally time, baby. That's right. Don't waste this, Vector. That's right. Carlos adjusts his hands on the bat. Ball 2. Good job there by Carlos on that front foot that time. I'm noticing on this bat, the front foot's not falling back out. He's not falling. They used to call it stepping into the bucket when you get out wide on that front foot when you're bringing it down. Like I was talking about in the last bat, he can't get his coverage across that plate if he doesn't get that foot a little bit further out along on there. This ball hit hard and deep, like second deck, third deck deep, but foul. I like that, though, by Carlos. Gets himself into a 2-0 count, looking for a pitch in a spot, puts a very good swing on that pitch. That's what we want to see. That's what I'm talking about. That's the part where you can control some. You can't always control being hot or cold or hitting the ball hard, and sometimes you don't got good luck because you're hitting hard and you're hitting it right at him. But you can control how you take your pitches and work your counts. And he gets him a little out of the zone now. So Carlos goes again to that pitch that's, as you can see there on the pitch tracker, again, that might have been called a strike by where the umpire's calling those pitches tonight. But from a hitter's standpoint, Carlos, you've got to leave that sucker alone. Get yourself into a 3-1 count as opposed to a 2-2 count. Very small little things like that he has control of that pitch 4 there. Stay consistent in your plate approach throughout the course of the bat. But again, the aggressiveness, 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss, change up, outside part of the plate, done. So now you can go to the change up. He could have gone to the curve. He doesn't have to come back at you with the fastball or even the slider because he knows he's got a pitch. He's got a pitch to Barry at that point. Good pitch by Verlander in this game. I wouldn't say it's a master class like last week, but he doesn't have to pitch master class to be dominant. Sancho Max says that stadium has been in the playoffs, though. That's true. That hurts, but I can't be mad. It is true. I see what you did there. Hey, our stadium was in the playoffs in 2001. It's been a while. It had like a 5-game series or something. It had a couple series back then. There you go, Sector. That's what I should have said. The stadium has also had issues with loud trash cans. It had just so many large trash cans in that stadium. It's odd. It's strange, huh? So random. Yes, Sancho, you had to adjust your little comment there. I noticed to 20. Oh, it's not been in 19 years because you forgot about our 2001 team in that new stadium. So I noticed your adjustment. I see what you did there. You ain't tricking me. You ain't tricking me on that. But you got a good damn team, man. And I hate the fact that they're better than us right now, but they are better than us right now. We'll see where you guys are at next year as our team really starts to click in, but it's going to be hopefully a great rivalry as we go forward. That's always better for the sport. But right now, we're not making it much of a rivalry if we're not going to push them very hard game to game on this stuff. All right, the Astros are up 5-0 here on 8 hits. The Mariners, no runs on 3 hits. Cleanly played game out in the field, no errors. So I'm reading his lips now what Raleigh told Brash, and it's, I think they're doing the mic thing. You guys can tell me if I can't hear the volume on the game. It looks like he says, "Don't shake me off." That's some Bull Durham stuff right there, if that's what he was saying. You guys remember that scene in Bull Durham where Costner has an issue with Meat early on, or Nuke. I call him Meat because I like that better. But he has an issue with him early on as he's trying to bring this young flame-throwing pitcher up. The first pitch by Malone is down and away for ball 1. And Nuke, or as Kevin Costner's character calls him, Meat, is a hard-headed kid because he's one of those freakish, has a big signing bonus kind of guys, thinks he's already better than he is. Costner's there to kind of bring him along, and he keeps shaking him off. That ball's hit hard and deep and far. Yordan Alvarez. Is that who that was? Did I just give him the wrong guy credit? No, that was Jordan. Gets himself into a 1-0 count, gets him into a favorable hitter count, gets himself a pitch. Mariner pitchers of all day, as opposed to Verlander, have been pitching from behind in counts, right and left, as opposed to getting ahead in counts. And this is what you get from that. This is the offset of that. Horrible pitch, 86-mile-an-hour fastball, right over the middle of the plate. Jordan has no problem with that kind. That's just, you might as well just give him it at that point. Boy, I don't know why, but it's just all Mariner pitchers are afflicted tonight with an inability to get the ball low in the zone. Everything is just up high in the zone. Like, get down to the knees, guys. Knees. Everybody's living up in the edge here. Sancho Max's trade for Ohtani, I wouldn't be against it, buddy. I'd be in favor of it. I think you could make the argument you're more in need of probably a starting pitcher at this point, but we also need a bat too. So it's not that it's not an either or, it's both. Golly. It's all right. We're going to score probably 5 runs in this game anyway when Verlander's thrown 74 pitches. Goodness gracious. TJ says, I used to look forward to Astros games. Now I despise them. Yeah, especially when they're just giving us the business like this. It's like we're like the kid going to... Oh, I forgot my story. Let me finish my story off. So Costner tells his character, if you haven't seen the Bull Durham, he gets frustrated because Nuke keeps shaking him off. And he goes and he says, he's like, okay. Comes back up to the plate, and he tells the batter, hey, next pitch is going to be a fastball, middle of the plate. And the hitter kind of goes, okay. And the hitter hits the pitch out into the outfield, puts it up over the deck, hits it off a sign in the outfield. And Costner comes back out and talks to Tim Robbins' new character, and he's like, man, it was like you knew that pitch was coming. Costner's like, it's because he did. That's all he has to say, right? Like, it's not like he just, that little bit of dialogue is enough to communicate. And you can see in the look of Tim that he gives to Kevin there of like, all right, I won't shake off your pitches anymore. It's a great movie. Still holds up. Daniel says they just should have walked him. I wouldn't be against it at this point. Of course, then you got Bregman, who's been pretty good as well then behind, right? So, as proof by the fact Bregman just got on too. Both those guys are giving us problems. All right, Malone comes set here. He knocked out 1-1. Rough game here for our Mariners today. Rough. They don't look comfortable. They don't look comfortable at the plate. They're okay they're great in the field, but pitchers don't look comfortable. Hitters don't look comfortable. Everybody's just been a little bit out of sorts. I don't know. Maybe the Astros are a bit in our head a bit here. There's a strike on the outside part of the plate. Tucker throws a little hissy fit there, but that was a good pitch. Tucker. Oh, what a wuss. It's a good pitch, man. Could have a little attitude about it. All right, here's the 1-2 delivery. Low. Raleigh does a good job of blocking that ball. Sancho Max says, I think y'all have a better farm system, so y'all have a better chance to get him, IMO. But always remember, though, Sancho, though, those teams, it almost doesn't matter the sport, baseball, basketball, football. It's a very common theme that you see where those teams don't like to trade within their divisions. Because if you're the general manager who trades Shohei Ohtani to the Mariners in your own division, and Ohtani comes out for the next 8 or 9 years and kills your ball club, that in itself is one of those crystalline moments that can get you fired as a general manager, right or wrong. You could make the argument that no general manager should be just for one reason like that, given the boot there. But that's the way owners' minds work with that type of stuff, especially when there's a lot of public outcry out there. This is the guy who traded Ohtani. This is the guy who traded Ohtani. The fact of the matter is right now with the Angels, the best 2 moves that they should make at this moment is moving Trout and Ohtani. They could restock their whole farm system with those 2 trades and have their team back in a better position within a couple of years like our Mariners to actually succeed and do something. They probably won't do it with both, but they probably should. So, yeah, we do have enough to offer there, Sancho. We do. And it makes, it's a 2-for-1 where you get the pitching and the right fielder, which we need both. That ball hit hard into left field into the gap. Winker is giving chase, but that's going to fall down. Takes it off the bounce. That will be an easy double. Runners on second and third. Nobody out. D-Boy, what's up, man? Good to see you in the chat. Hope you're doing well. There's a report saying Luis Castillo is a Mariner. Let me double check. That'd be good to see. That'd be a little bit of a bright bit of sunshine for us. Some good news. Jeff Passan is reporting Luis Castillo is going to be a Mariner. Let me check. Let me check my sources. I got sources. It's trending. It's trending. That ball's hit out deep to Lewis. That'll be caught, but that will be enough to easily score. And indeed, Passan is saying the Mariners are finalizing a deal to acquire right-handed Luis Castillo from the Cincinnati Reds. And it sounds like the Yankees were also in pursuit. One out now here for the Astros. Great piece of hitting there by that hitter, because not only do you knock it out to the outfield, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but he hit that ball in a fly to the outfield in deep right. So not only do you get the guy scoring from third base, you're able to move the runner over from second. Again, you look at this Astros lineup and you're very impressed by the professional hitting. It isn't just freaks that are just driving every pitch into gaps all over the place. There is some of that. But it's also the stuff in between with their approach at the plate. All right. Well, that's some good news, right, folks? A little bit of a silver lining to this potential bad loss today is that you have got Castillo added, and now that does not, by the way, hold you back from necessarily maybe doing something else to add a bat as well. I don't think it's likely you're adding a bat in addition to this, but you still now, if you get Castillo, have a little bit of time to maybe make another move to add a bat. We got to see what they've given up, though, of course, for Castillo, because you do have a couple years of club control here, so you've got to figure that there's going to be a little bit of a price to be paid here. Sancho says the Angels need to fire everyone anyway. They need to blow it up like the Astros did. I mean, it's what I would tell if I was the owner there. Oh, nice job there by Eugenio. Good little play there. Keeps the runner on third, sitting on third, and that will be 2 outs. That's, I agree with you on they're probably due to be let go at that point. You've added these 2 players and given nothing else really around them. I mean, that's got to, especially for an owner like the Angels owner who is so willing to spend money. As a general manager, you don't have really any excuses in that situation. But Sancho, that's what I'd advocate for them doing. I'd say you move Ohtani, you move Trout. I mean, Sancho, can you imagine the kind of assets that you pull back on the other side of that? On those 2 players? I mean, the haul would be amazing, and that ball is hit far and deep and back into the seats, and that will be a home run. When it rains, it pours. And it's now 9-0 Houston Astros. So at least we got some Castillo news. Eddie Young says keep mouth trashing the Astros and get butt kicked. Love my Astros. Don't cross the boss off the AL West. Eddie, man, I don't know if you've been listening for very long here on the stream, but I've actually been singing the praises of your Astros team. So I don't know where you're getting trashing from, my guy. I've got a lot of appreciation for the Astro Ball Club. But I love your confidence. Daniel says it's over. Yeah, I think it's pretty well over at this point. I think once you got past probably five runs, you weren't gonna touch Verlander on that. Judge got 2 more home runs. Jeez, is he going to set the... I hope he sets the mark. I hope he overtakes Barry. I do. And Malone is in a day where a lot of Mariner pitchers have had a rough go of it. He has been as unable to hit his spots as much as anybody. Somebody was saying that the roof was closed, but every Mariner pitcher out there is sweating like, they're on trial for their lives, They've got that kind of sweat where it's not just gleaming. You can see the drips coming down their arms and stuff, and they keep wiping themselves. Every pitcher. I don't know. Everybody do a bunch of cocaine before the game here today? What's happening here? Meanwhile, Verlander's cool, calm, collected. Not even a sheen, not even a bit of sheen on him, I tell you. TJ says, Ayo, I think we lost. Trouble territory here. Trouble territory. I'm not seeing any details on what we're giving up quite yet for Castillo. We're probably going to have to learn what's going on with that. I guess this does allow for the Yankees to now go after Frankie Montas. I bet that's where he goes next. Please. Castillo stats. So Luis Castillo, let's go to Baseball Reference here and take a little pick at him here since this game is in Ridic mode. We've got 2 outs now, runner on first, Chas McCormick up at the plate. Malone knocks off some beads of sweat, makes the pitch high up in the air. Julio's under it. He's got it. Out number 3. So Castillo's been pitching since 2017. He had 15 games started in his rookie year. Came out with 3 wins, 7 losses, and a 3.12 ERA. Year 2 was a little bit rocky for him. In fact, his most probably rocky year there, where he had 31 starts, but a 4.30 ERA. Did go 169 innings, 1.22 WHIP. But probably that was, still learning his way through at that point. Last year, he had 8 wins, 16 losses, but that's a little bit of hard luck in there. Obviously, probably run support was a little bit not as great, but 3.98 ERA, fairly decent there. 33 games started for him, almost had nearly 200 innings. 192 strikeouts last year, 75 walks. Good rate there on that. His WHIP was 1.36. So if you look at last year, you could make if you wanted to make the assessment by WHIP that he had his worst year last year by that, because a lot of people like to measure that over ERA. So that does kind of factor in a little bit, is that it's, maybe he's not been as quite as good as he had been in the past. And certainly he hasn't had a lot of dominant years. 2019 was the year where it really stood out, where it's 15-8, 3.40 ERA, WHIP at 1.143. I mean, he was in a really good place in that respect of things. But this year so far, he has started 14 games. He is 4-4 for a Cincinnati ball club that, of course, basically told you at the start of the year they're taking it down to the studs and they're going to rebuild what they've got going on there. So 2.86 ERA, 1.071 WHIP. And the interesting part about this is that in his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of pitching, this is his best WHIP so far this year. So far. So 90 strikeouts to 28 walks, almost really a 3-to-1 ratio on that, which would also be the best of his career so far. So even though he is 29, and even though he's got a good number of, he's probably got about 600 of innings on his arm at the pro level, he still is pitching really well right now, and you're getting a very able guy for this rotation. This was a necessary kind of move that you had to make. George Kirby is going to be on a pitch count. He is going to be limited going forward. And now you can just slot Castillo right in there without missing a beat. The hope here is that the bats do turn around here at some point, and that you can get guys that can hit a little bit closer to their baseball card. I talked about Winker earlier on here on this stream, and a guy that, I'm not talking about what he hit last year at 324 home runs, just what he's done for his career as a 275 guy with some moderate power. So hit to what you've been in the past in that respect of things, or at least 260. I mean, that's going to be high off the 220 that you're rocking right now. Go down that list to Dylan Moore and everything. And this is where Mitch Haniger coming in and maybe him injecting some of that stuff in the lineup. Maybe Lewis can start to hit well. It feels like when Lewis is actually consistently in the lineup and he's got a run of getting himself in his rhythm, he can hit. It's just that he can't seem to keep himself in that lineup consistently, sometimes for just bad luck. Sometimes that knee took some time to come back around on it. 0-2 here to Suarez, swings wildly out of zone for strike number 3. Verlander continues to dominate this Mariners lineup. TJ says this is the first game all year we've gotten destroyed, like 6+ runs. It's definitely a rough one today. Woo, doggy. Eddie Hung... So much jealousy on my Astros on YouTube. I'm glad Astros shut off their mouths. Eddie, I mean, you must be referring to somebody else. I don't know if you're just coming in here late. Sancho Mack is an Astro fan in here as well. I've had some great talks with him as an Astro fan. I think he'll speak as an Astro fan on my behalf here, that I've been giving props and respect to your team. So I don't know what you mean by jealousy on the Astros. If you're meaning that people give you guys a hard time for the cheating stuff, that is what it is. And, there's no really any place to talk yourself out of that one or excuse it or try to say something else. It is what it is. And your players went unpunished for that situation. And when that happens, that means that there's not a sense of justice being met out league-wide. So if you're looking at people being angry about that and giving the team, I think you've got to take your lumps on that. You just do. There's kind of no way around it. But I have respect for the way that the Astros have built their ball club. I have a respect for the way that they managed this ball club and kept themselves dominant through these years. I can play in a point of nuance where I don't just say their cheating got them where they got. No, they're a great team who also had happened to cheat through those years a good amount of time. They weren't the only ones doing it, but that doesn't excuse it either. All right, 1-1 count here to Lewis as he steps at the plate as I've been talking about almost all night. It seems like we start off and ending with our banner and bats, and I'm quickly saying 2 fast, quick outs here. Verlander has absolutely just given them a real difficult time here through his last 2 starts. Rory, Astros won't gain tonight. Yankees with an 8-run 8th to come back against the Royals. Wow, 8-run 8th against the... That'd be nice if we could do that. I'll take an 8th-run 8th. Eddie, are you coming in to troll, or do you want to have some discussion? If you want to just come in and pound your chest, do the gorilla style, go for it. I won't respond to your comments and let you do your gorilla chest pound. If you want to have some good baseball discussion, which I'm liking with your fellow Astro fan here in here, say his name, Sancho, that I've had some good interaction with him going back and forth. I don't think it accomplishes a whole much by you beating your chest. But if you want to have some good discussion, let's have some talk, man. Let's talk some baseball. Adrian Garza, it's Major League, everyone cheats. No. Nope. Incorrect. False. So. Eddie Young says, cheating are so common in every sport, especially in tennis. There's nothing like hearing from a fan base that excuses their cheating by saying, well, everybody's doing it. That's how it reached such a point of common knowledge you guys are doing it, that you don't even dance away from the fact that you did it. Your only answer is, but everyone else is. And that makes it right? It doesn't make it right. And again, if you're going to win in that way and you're going to be so overt as to, I can watch a game and hear a trash can being banged from a clubhouse, which you can talk about everybody cheating all you want. I was watching games at that time and I wasn't hearing trash cans being banged by every team every which way but loose. So, it was overt. It was beyond the pale. And everyone has a right to call you guys on it. Once again, it's not to take away from the talent of this team and somehow to say there's got to be an asterisk involved here. But it is to say that it was wrong. No one got punished for it. And and if you're wondering why you then suffer a lot of heat online from it's not me doing this, but other YouTube channels in regards to baseball talk, it has everything to do with a sense of lack of justice being met out. And when that occurs, that's what you're going to get from that. And it shouldn't be a surprise or a shocker. Yeah, I'd love people to back up. If everybody in baseball is cheating, back that up. I can prove the Chargers cheating. I can show you clips, variety of clips, multitude of clips at that time proving the case. But if we're going to say all 32 teams cheat 100%, then we've got to back that up with proof to say it, or it's a magnanimous statement that's just being said to, again, it's a statement said merely and purely to then somewhat excuse the Astros cheating, which we're doing a lot of tap dancing here around the point, which is that the bottom line here is they cheated and they didn't get nailed for it. In fact, they got kind of rewarded for it. Carl Todd says Mariners have some good years coming, though. You better believe it, Carl. The future is bright. Sector 7 says Astro fans love to troll. I see this all over social media platform. I get it. I'm starting to get more antiquated with that, on the Seahawks side of it. I'm getting a lot on the Seahawks football channel as well. So it's just all right, you guys do you. I'm getting better about the football channels, letting it go through. But we got, People want to come and have a good chat. I've had some really good interactions with Astro fans here, especially over the last week's series. We were able to do a lot of just talking good baseball. It's fun. Like I'd like to say, I like having other fans of other teams in because it does give you a widened perspective on things. And usually you'll learn something that you didn't know. Carl Todd said, why I get annoyed, Astro fans. It still wasn't investigated correctly. Exactly. It's like the JFK assassination investigation was applied to that Astro situation. And again, I come back and say, it's not that I'm sitting there going, say, here's an asterisk or anything else, but you're going to have to take your lumps as far as other fans giving you that, saying you guys overtly cheated to the point you had buzzers probably in your uniform. Buzzers in your uniform. And nobody got so much as a single game suspension. Rory says, I'm from Houston. No excuses for what they did. No. I'm also a guy that's consistent with this, by the way. I was a guy through the steroid era that says, I don't think Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens or Mark McGwire should ever make the Hall of Fame. I think that Major League Baseball had set a mandate that had gone back almost 100 years, back to the Chicago White Sox scandal, which understood that this game is built upon it being understood that it's a level field to a degree here. And there's gamesmanship, I get it. But gamesmanship is different from out-and-out cheating, blatant cheating, overt cheating. And has it always occurred in baseball in some form? Yeah. But should it be celebrated? Should it be excused? No. If it's known and it's hard, then it should be pointed out, because we don't want that to be something that is the problem with excusing it, the problem with just saying, well, it's everybody does it, is it never then stops. It never then halts. People just look for different ways to get around it. But if you come down hard upon it, if you put that steel fence down, well, now teams know they should not line. Shoeless Joe Jackson gets suspended for the entirety of his life. He'll go, man, maybe I should be careful about taking some money to fix games. When Pete Rose is betting on baseball and still can't get himself in the Hall of Fame, maybe I better be careful about betting on baseball. But when you do nothing on the other side of it, it's going to leave people, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I think people should be penalized. And if it's 20 teams doing it or 15 teams, they should all be penalized, not just the Astros doing it. Everybody should be at that point. Investigate it all. Eradicate this from the game. Cut it out like you would a tumor from the body. Don't let it metastasize. Epic Astros fans clown us like crazy whenever they beat us. They do. Like I said, I've had some pretty good interactions with some Astro fans, so it hasn't been too bad in here. Joe Trippy says Hinch suffered. He got fired, and now he's managing the Tigers. That's punishment. I mean, I guess kind of. I don't look at it as a manager-only responsibility situation. I look at it like a player situation. A player individually chooses to cheat and individually chooses to take part in cheating. And if you choose to take part and it becomes systemic like it was with this ball club, then unfortunately at that point I'm all out of excuses at that point, or giving you a lot of benefit of the doubt. Adrian Garza says, moving forward, do you think Astros have a good chance to win this year? Absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, we had an Astro fan was telling me the other night, I don't know if it was McCormick, but you had another bat coming back healthy here soon. And you imagine this lineup with an extra bat, and you go, And as somebody has said multiple times, and it does seem like they do kind of have the Yankees number a little bit. Much like you get in other sports, there's sort of bad matchups for teams. I mean, hell, we're not a great, as we're constructed right now, not the greatest of matchups for this Astro team, as proven out here over this last 3-game series and the first 2 games of this series. And Jordan's up right now with no one pitch here, nobody out. Baruki up pitching now. But I absolutely think the Astros are up there competing. Right now, as it stands, the Yankees and the Astros are the 2 best teams in the AL. And it's kind of a pick-em as to who probably is going to get past one or the other. So I could absolutely see this be the year for the Astros once again, especially with Verlander pitching as well as he is. I mean, that guy's just so dominant, and that just sets them up so right, knowing every fifth day or whatever, he comes out there and he's just going to shut down the entire lineup. And boy, Jordan hits it past the shift. Showing off some wheels there, Jordan, to get to first. Nicely done. Eddie says only uncertain in the LA is the Central. Astros and Yankees are guaranteed division champs. That's the way it looks right now. Truffle says Astros, Castillo to the Mariners. Reds get Marte, Stout, Orojo, and Andrew Moore. Oof. Marte, huh? Oof. So you gave him the big dog on it, and then you kind of threw in the rest of the also parts rather than packaging a couple of other parts together like a Kellenick and somebody else to make it happen. Okay. Marte has been just crushing it right now. Marte's been crushing it down there, so we'll see what he can turn out and turn into for the Reds. But you needed that to make you were going to have to give up something, and Marte was one of the most straightforward pieces out there that you had to offer. And right now with Crawford signing that 5-year deal, you didn't have a way to move. You really didn't have a pathway for Marte to the major league level unless you were looking at moving him out of position to third base or to shortstop or the outfield. So it does make sense that you look to maybe more package him at that point. And that'll be 2 outs, but the runner will score 10-0. Joe Tribby says the Mariners are on their way. This is a solid rebuild. I'm from Detroit, and we're in the middle of an absolutely terrible rebuild. Good luck, Mariners. Well, thank you, Joe. We've got some. I think we're all fairly optimistic at this point, Joe, and we knew this is a year of growth, and that this is a year that was going to be building up to something, and we're probably still a year out with where we were. I mean, that's kind of the point to it. And I'm kind of surprised, kind of Eddie Hung, you're throwing so much shade at us and not recognizing the fact that we're taking the very same approach that your Astros team took, 6-7 years ago as you began this run, which is that we built from within rather than taking shortcuts. And by building within, it's going to take longer time to get to the fruition of that. And you've got to wait that out. But once you get to the fruition, you can have a longer time on that run than you can if you're trying to take shortcuts. And so that's where we're at right now. We're beginning to put the parts and pieces together. We've got a 21-year-old superstar that's just starting to percolate. And I think that though this year we're borderline to get in the playoffs, I think next year with another solid off season, we can get back there. Or get back there for the first time in a while. Rory says the argument is Major League Baseball wouldn't have come close to getting the full story without the Astro players speaking with immunity. Yeah, I mean, maybe so on that. It does come down to a point at that where I believe that you've almost got to, in a desperation situation, understand the damage that type of story did to baseball and a sport that hasn't exactly been humming at the highest in popularity in the last 15, 20 years versus up against basketball and football. A sport that was harmed by that scandal, as it was harmed eventually by the steroid scandal. As it was harmed by, frankly, the spider tack crap on the pitcher's hands. The game gets harmed by this. A baseball, for instance, is a game about stats, and stats are hallowed. And you can look at the stats of a guy in the 1940s and versus the guy in the 1990s, and there's some kind of comparison you can make, at least in a basic degree. And you start getting a proliferation through a period of like steroids that juices up stats to the 9 and kind of then destroys some of that hallowed nature to those stats. And it hurts the game. It doesn't destroy the game. It doesn't make the game impossible to enjoy or that there isn't still a point where the game can get back to prominence. But it does harm the game. And that's the part where I take umbrage with it just a little bit myself. Gabriel says, hi, still don't believe the Mariner Astros are just an average team. I love how, Gabriel, you come in when we're going to the Astros and we lose to those three. Then we get a 3-game sweep against the Rangers and you're nowhere to be seen. It's exactly the thing I get on my Mariners channel. And you got to understand with this, Gabriel, like I'm 3.5 years into this and you probably don't understand this, but there's a certain method of fan that comes in and they've got their hankles up and all they want to come in is just light the world on fire and be angry and upset with things. And I get where your guys are coming from, your principle of that, and you just want to come in and crap on the team, and that's your role. Go do it. But quite honestly, I'm not going to interact with you because it's much like what I'm trying to have with the same kind of situation I'm having with this other guy, Eddie Hung, in here, where it's just, you guys just want to kind of take poo from your butt, throw it at the wall and throw it at everybody else and just upend tables and do that. It doesn't accomplish anything. It ain't fun. It isn't enjoyable to talk about. But it's also, again, it shows the nature of your argument, Gabriel, and that you lean in when it looks like you're right, but when you're wrong, you're nowhere to be seen. I'll be here all the way I am. I'll be right where I'm at, just like in my Seahawks channel. Right, wrong. If I got to eat crow and come back and say I'm wrong, I'm able to come back and do that. What I do notice about the type like you who come in and make these huge statements, blanket statements that are off the board wild in their nature of, this is a horrible, crappy team that's not any good, which is basically what you were saying the last time you came in. It's again, you're here when something suits your point, but you're nowhere to be seen when it goes against your point. I see it so often. It's like, I'm just not going to react to it. Because again, it's like you're playing a role. If you're not trolling, then you're just kind of playing a role. It's not fun from my standpoint as a YouTuber on here to have that kind of conversation with anybody. It doesn't accomplish anything. And Gabriel, let me fill you in on something. It's not very entertaining for people to listen to somebody just sit there and do nothing but crap on a team constantly. It's not. Nobody enjoys it. Nobody has fun listening to it. So I'm not going to take part in it. Rory, the argument is Major League wouldn't have come close to getting the... Oh, sorry. I read that one. Carl says, I just want a wild card. Do we kill the 20 years? I want wild card. Do we kill the 20 years? I don't even know what you mean on that. Sorry, Carl. And wild card is still the playoffs. I'm with it. Well, Eddie, I understand you're saying it sounds like you got a mindset on, Eddie. I'll let you have that mindset, my brother. Good luck to you with that one. Sancho says it can't be the full story when the league is hiding evidence of one of its historical teams starting it all. I agreed. And like I said, I don't think it was just the Astros doing it, but I also don't think it was everybody. And I do think everybody should be punished in that situation, not just the Astros in that moment of time. So I'm consistent in this nature of it. I'm not just looking to pick the Astros out of everybody. I think they were the most overt in the way that they were engaging in it. But at the end of the day, everybody's doing it, or not everybody, but the teams that are doing it need to be held accountable, and they weren't. And they never will be. It's over with. You know, it ain't ever going to come back. But Major League Baseball definitely did cover up that situation. And you might be onto something with that, where it had a big to do with one of their blue blood franchises being a part of it. Yeah, Gabriel, it comes back to, again, our original argument was you coming in and saying they're a bad team. And my argument back to you was that you don't reach this point of it 100 games into the season, this well over 500, and you're usually a bad team. You're usually, and a question I've asked you probably 50,000 times that you never will answer, I know, because again, your answer will illustrate that I'm right on this, which is if you have teams that have a 10-game or more winning streak in the last 30 years, have those teams often been good teams by the end of the season, or have they been more often than not bad? And I think you would agree, I can't get you to answer it, but you'd say there's 75, 80% likelihood that they are good teams in those cases. Teams well above 500. Not great, just good teams. This Mariner team is a team that's going to get in the playoffs. And the fact that they're not playing consistently, or the fact that they're struggling against one of the top 2 AL teams, is not indicative of the fact that they suck. It's indicative of the fact that they're inconsistent and they're not yet at the level of those teams. But this is the fandom world as well, right? It's got to be all black and white. A team is all good or they suck. And there doesn't seem to be any room for finding a place of nuance or gray to discuss it. And that's the place I really like to stay more than ever, because I think that's where you have the best type of discussions here, rather than trying to have one person sit there and constantly dunk or try to dunk on somebody else, which doesn't accomplish anything. And again, as I try to tell you on this, Gabriel, this is a little bit about being entertaining and having good discussion. It's not fun discussion, just be like, this team sucks, this team stupid, this team bad, this team dumb, this team go nowhere. Nobody wants to hear that, man. Nobody. As Devin says, Gabriel, stop. Yeah, Eddie, you're right. You guys did make the World Series. Congratulations on that. Hopefully you got discounts on those buzzers. That ball's hitting the gap by Winker. That'll be a double here. Might we actually be able to carve a run out in this game? Very well may happen there, Eddie. Like I said, we're on our rise right now. We're not in the middle of our run. You're in the middle of your run right now. We've got a lot of young players coming up. We're developing them slowly. Like I said, I'm trying to find some ground here where you and me, Eddie, can talk, but I guess you just don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can see no echoes of this, of what your Astro team is. They were a young team coming up after they had been bottom dwellers for what, 15, 16 years, right? And people were talking the same type of trash you're talking about my Mariners right now. You guys were going through that same sort of organic growth where you weren't trying to buy your way into a great team. You were trying to develop your way into a great team, which is what my Mariner team's doing right now. And I think you'd be better suited to understand this, since you'd have a history of watching it, to understand that with a young team, you're going to get a lot of inconsistency. Doesn't mean the team is not talented. Doesn't mean the team's not going to show you signs of life of being great at times, but it means they're going to be inconsistent. And that shouldn't be an indicator of bad or good. It should just be an indicator that they're inconsistent. Eddie Hung says, Rory says this can't be Baker's decision. Verlander must want to try for a complete game shutout. Well, he's not bad on his pitch count, right? So his pitch count's, where are we at here with Ver? So 93. I mean, if he lets him go 120 on this, he can pull it off. He doesn't give up any more hits. And he's got 2 outs now, so I could see it. Makes sense. Marty Mix, Superfly. Every game is scripted by the numbers. Tigers, Major Dog, beat Blue Jays today because it's International Tigers Day. Look it up. Okay. Sector 7, what's your opinion on the drought? Even if we just snagged the last extended playoff speed. Spending on the drought? To me, it feels cheap to consider it breaking the drought. I don't think it's cheap. No, I don't think it's cheap at all. This is a little bit of like the discussion I have on the Seahawks side of it, where you have fans that say we should tank this year and try to go for the first pick. And I push back and say that a winning culture is something that you have to establish, that becomes created and established. And if you do this light switch thing where you try to turn off for a year, establishing or continuing that type of culture, regardless of the results on the field, but creating the right elements there for it to really take bloom, then you're going to potentially prolong the amount of time it takes you to kind of find your way with that, I think. So getting the playoffs to me is not just some cheap thing they're doing at that point. And Julio on top of that ball and gives it a ride down the line. That ball's going deep into the gap in the corner. This should there we go. Winker coming in. Nice by Julio, puts us up on the board. Hey, how about that? Got ourselves a run in this game. Julio with a couple of hits. Nice job by Julio there. And Dusty is indeed at that point going, okay, you lost your CG. I told you I wanted to pull you out last inning, and you explained you wanted to do it. I told you not. Give me the Justin. Just get out there and let me get the bullpen and save you. We need you to the playoffs now against this Mariner team right now. But for me, it's Factor 7. It's you building towards what you're hoping to get next year. And this whole season, I said it in the very first video of the channel and what I created here in the spring when I said this year's not about the results of getting the playoffs. This is about getting your future set, your foundation set, and watching that maturation of young players begin to take place. And then you can really, in my opinion, throttle it up as you get into next off season. And I've really looked at it through more of that lens of things. So getting the playoffs for me is above what I had thought you were going to hit this year as far as your mark goes. And I would think that's a success for this year. And yeah, you're breaking that drought for sure. Yeah, Gabriel, you still won't answer the question, man. You still won't answer it. So it's like, dude, that's the thing with this. What you want to do is just tell me things. You want to just like scream at me, we're bad. That's what you want to essentially do. And if I try to have a back and forth, You won't even answer a question. If I can't get you to answer a single question in the back of the fourth, why do I want to have a good back and forth with you? I'm going to just talk to people in here who just want to talk baseball. Yes, I gave this point to you last time. I said if you took 30 years of teams winning 10 games in a row in a given Major League Baseball season, you are going to find some outliers that won 10 games and weren't good. Those are called outliers, Gabriel. Anomalies. Those things that don't happen on the often as a general rule of thumb. But my question is trying to get you to consider something you don't seem to want to consider because you won't answer it. You ask me a question, I've answered them. I've responded back to what you've had to say. You've not provided me the same respect. So this is where we get to the point of it's hard to have a back and forth. If you don't really want to have a back and forth, you just want to yell at me about what you want it to be and don't want to answer. But I can't understand your perspective if we can't even come to a common bound where you can understand what I'm trying to say here, which is, yes, there are anomaly teams in the last 30 years that have won 10 games in a row who were not above 500 at the end of the year. There were. But a vast majority of those teams over a 30-year period, over a 20-year period, over the last 10-year period, were teams that probably won at least 55 and up percentage of their games, which is not contextually a bad team. And that's the point I was making, and I've continued to try to make with you, but I can't get any ground with you on it, and you're not getting much ground with me from your point on it. So maybe we land at that spot if we agree to disagree. Rory says, you know what a blowout tonight means? Mariners win by 1 tomorrow. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. James Black just traded for Luis Castillo, it looks like. Yeah, James. Had to give up Marte. That part hurts a little bit. Hold on. But yeah, Marte was the one we had to give up in that deal. It's a decent amount. A couple of other, wasn't any major prospect names I saw in there on top of it. You gave up a couple of guys that I'm aware of, but nothing horrible. And he's going to help this team out. Joe Trippy says teams have to learn how to win. It takes time. Very well said, Joe. Sorry about my phone's going crazy here, folks. Very well said. That's just the kind of point that I'm trying to make, is that it's especially in baseball, as I've said a few times on this stream, it's a sport of development. It's why you have 4 separate minor league systems, summer baseball for these guys. It's why sometimes you'll set them internationally through the ends. You want to give them as many at-bats as you can and give them as much saturation as you can to get them into that point. And also as a team, learning how to win, learning how to play small ball. You know, I've pointed out the things that I've seen the Astros do well in this series, in the last 2 series, that stands out in deference of what our Mariner lineup is. And that is that working counts and staying on top of counts and not swinging out of the zone consistently. As we just saw Ty France literally just do as he strikes out here to retire the side in the 8th inning. Astros aren't doing that as much. You got a guy like Maldonado in the lineup he's swinging at everything that's coming across that plate, but every other guy in that lineup is doing a good job of showing patience and getting themselves into 2-1 counts. And then it's the second part of that process where then you look to drive something from a certain place or a certain pitch. And our Mariner team is not at that moment of doing that in their lineup. There's a little bit more of they're just kind of going by pure feel and on that. And I think that that's going to come with time, especially on some of these hitters that get more time and to look at these pitchers and come along like a Julio when he gets past 500 major league at bats, which is about the time where I think major league hitters start to really get it figured out. And James Black, great trade, though, for Luis. That was the one we thought was the likely one to happen. You were duking out for the New York Yankees to get his services. You did give up something to get him, but he's worth it. You now slot in this rotation as we move into the future, not even this year, but into next year, right? Where you still have now Logan Gilbert, Kirby, Castillo, Robbie Ray becomes almost either your 3rd or 4th, or Castillo becomes your 3rd or 4th. That's a good top 4-end rotation. Flexen's here this year, but then now all you got to really worry about is your back end of your rotation as we go forward. The team continues to solidify this team for when they will make that run into the future next year. You've got your center fielder. I feel like you're gonna figure out your right fielder here moving forward on this. You have at least, even though Winker's not a great bat right now, you have him out there as a lefty option if you want to flip a lefty-right option into the future. Eugenio's here for another year. Crawford set with his contract extension. JP France at first is good. Cal Raleigh starting to develop So where it comes down to, it's like, well, second base, left field, you feel great about your bullpen. This is where, as we start to put this together for the long term, I feel real good about how this team is assembling things here. TJ says Moore's final game as a Mariner. No, it was Andrew Moore that got traded. So I don't know if you're meaning it was Dylan Moore. Dylan Moore to getting traded. And Julio is the future, no doubt. Chrono says it was expensive, but we needed another above average starter. You did. Oh, it's Luis Torrens is on the hill. The catcher's out there throwing. We've reached that point in the game, folks, where the catcher's throwing his gas. Yes, we're getting beat that badly. It's Luis time. Rocking those high tops and the little short leg kick. Come on, Luis. Oh, Luis gets hammered. He got a hold of that one. And that's going into the crowd for a home run. This might get ugly here a little bit. BP time, Welp. Yep, it's BP pitches you're getting off Luis here. James Black says, yeah, the Astros are beating the Mariners like a trash can. Oh, jeez. ATM says, you think Dipoto will go for another, will trade for another bat? And ADM, I'm sorry, I missed your other question on that too. So sorry I missed you. You could. I think the pathway here is if you look at it, I like Ford a lot as a catching prospect, but boy, with the way that Raleigh is rounded into shape, that might be another piece like you had with Marte, where you already have Crawford at shortstop. Marte's top end might be better than Crawford a couple years down the line, but it remains to be seen. You signed Crawford the 5-year deal. You didn't really like the thought of moving Marte out of position, so he really was a trade piece at that point. If you were to put together a trade with a Ford and Kelnick, and you package those two guys together and then a little bit around the edges of it on that deal, like you did with this deal with Marte, and then kind of put a few around the edges on it, and Torrens gets himself an out, you might be able to pull an extra guy in. The nice part about this 2ATM is getting this deal done still with a couple days left before the trade deadline. You're not making the Luis Castillo trade at 11:59 before the clock's about to strike 12. So you have a couple days to now put your full concentration onto an available bat out there. I don't know if they're going to go that aggressive with it, ATM. I don't, but they have the ammunition to do so. I think they can spend the money to do so, and they can spend the prospects to do so. So I don't have a good answer on will they, but they could. Sancho Max says, I wish we beat the damn A's. Well, it's part of what I think with this too, though. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on this, Sancho, is if maybe that Astro team at that All-Star break got kind of jacked up for that opening game series, and they just kind of shot a little bit of their wad there, and then they go from the Mariners to the A's, and they were like, oh, okay, it's the A's. We can basically close our eyes and win this series. Daniel says, look, at least be glad you aren't an Angels fan, because we have absolutely no future unless we get rid of Ohtani and Trout. That's why I'm okay. We're being 11-1. I'm not freaking out. I got my catcher up on the hill right now. I ain't getting mad about it. I ain't mad. So it's the Angels are where we were a few years ago, where's the hope? We're going to be bad for years to come. There's no quick fixes here. This is going to take so much time to even be competitive. We're not in that stage of things, and it should still provide some Mariners encouragement here. Rory says, you know what blowout tonight means? Mariners. Oh, sorry, I read that. And ATM says, curious on if Dipoto's done. I think he will probably go for bats. So do I think is that a possibility. I do think Soto's out a possibility, ATM. We still get juiced up a little bit of line. But you can still find somebody else, right? There's probably still a bat out there that you could get. As I like to say, this is a little bit of how I apply it with the Mitch Haniger thing and why I'm high on Mitch when he does come back, is that there's such a baseline that is set so low by what you've been getting from both left field, second base, or DH, being one of those three positions that you probably address as far as a hitter goes, maybe right field too. And if you look at all four of those positions on the year and the totality of what you've gotten from those positions out of the lineup, it's like 230. It's 220 marginal power. So even bringing in a guy that's 260 with a little bit of pop to his lineup would really help this lineup out considerably. Say nothing if you can get Mitch Haniger back and then add another guy like that, let's say at a maybe the DH spot, and then be able to see Lewis from right field start to hit a little bit more consistently as he's coming back from that major concussion. You know, it's like now you've got almost an injection of three at bats there in the lineup just on that basis alone. Yeah, I think Soto's probably out of the question, ADM. I mean, Marte was probably going to have to be the centerpiece of that deal. You obviously could still put in a Kirby, and Torrens gets out of the inning. You could put in a Kirby, Kirby, Kelenic, Ford, and then package some more on top. You could put something like that together, but boy, you are going all in at that point. And I don't know if you could make the argument this team's in a position right now to go all in. It's in a position to upgrade where it can and improve and maybe even give up a little bit of that deep farm system to get a little bit more on the active major league roster as it stands right now. But it's going to be quite a haul they're going to get, I think, at the end of the day, the Nationals. Sancho says we play down to the competition a lot. It can happen when you're that good for that long, Sancho. It can. It's hard to keep that edge. It's hard to, you can sit there and talk yourself into, okay, we got the Athletics. It's a major league team. We got to beat them. And you walk in that stadium and they got no fans in the stadium. It feels like you're playing a scrimmage almost. And just your intensity level is just naturally going to drop, as opposed to like that Mariner Stadium where it felt like when you guys, there was a little bit of it wasn't electric or it wasn't like a playoff environment, but it was a little bit of like, you could sense that Mariner fans were in there waiting for something to happen. There was a little bit of anticipation there in the last series. Even in this one right now, I mean, I can't hear anything but the pretty big crowd in there. Murray says, while a team is winning, it's the best team in the history of baseball. While a team is losing, it's the worst team in the history of baseball. Exactly. Chrono says, Brandon, you should time these clowns out if they have nothing constructive to bring. I will. I mean, I'm going to let Eddie, I'm going to let you talk as much as you want, but if, again, you just want to come in to fling poo in every different direction of things, it's not entertaining, it's not fun. And again, man, we love baseball, right? Like, we love our team. The people in this chat, people that I have gravitate usually my channel on my Seahawks side, same thing with on my Seahawks side of my Hawks Nest channel. And that's that, we bring people into the chat to talk actual ball. It's not a trash talk channel. It's not I stand up here and pound my chest and tell you how great my team is, whether they are or not. It's a channel where we want to have discussion that gets into more of a deeper realm in baseball discussion. And it's really hard to do that if you have a guy who just wants to come in and act like a gorilla throwing poo. I love that you feel good for your team, and you have every right to feel good for your team, man. But I'll just throw the word out there, man. Be cool with it. Be cool, and let's have some good discussion. Because what you're offering right now is not very constructive to the chat, and it's not pushing anything forward. Connor Bourbon, as a lifelong Mariner fan who has never seen them play in a playoff game in my life, I have nothing but low expectations for the rest of the season. It happens every year. We're not making the playoffs. Keep the faith here, Connor. Keep the faith, man. And if I've got to be the light of hope here on my side of it to provide that for you, then I'm happy to do so. But I'm not a blind fan. I'm not a pom-pom waver. I'm not a guy that is here to tell you that everything's sunshine and roses when it's absolutely raining outside. And I'm telling you right now, I've watched Mariner baseball for 40 years. I'm an old man. I've seen a lot of bad baseball in my time. I lived through 80s Mariners baseball. I've seen the lowest of lows. Okay? And so I speak from that perspective to tell you, this is a team with a lot of young talent. This is a team with as deep a farm system as they've have right now as they've had in their history. And that's if you're factoring, obviously, some of the guys that are already getting up to the major league level, like a Raleigh and like a Julio. And these are things that are great indicators just before we look at where their win-loss record is of this team taking steps forward. You then add on to the fact that they've won well more games than they've lost. And while they're not yet ready to topple the Astros, Connor, that you're watching right now in the Astros, potentially the very best team in Major League Baseball right now. Potentially. There might be other teams that have a better argument right now at the moment, but when it all shakes out, this might end up being the best team. So I don't think you want to take too much from the results of what you do against the best team in baseball and take more from the results of what you do against the other 31 teams. So I get where you're coming from, and you've had to wait a long time to see them in the playoffs. But there's a great chance they do end up in the playoffs this year, and they're taking, more importantly, beyond them making the playoffs this year, they're taking the proper steps to get there on more of a continual basis in the future. IDM says, we're not on the tier of the Astros yet, but this team is ahead of schedule from last year. Beautifully put. 100% agree. And that ball hit up in the air by Dylan Moore. Julio is becoming a superstar this early, and now being in playoff contention the past 2 years is promising. Steps forward, steps in the right direction, right, ATM? And that's what I'm saying. You're taking those right steps, and I think we should be encouraged by these steps, not shake our head at them, not throw a fist. Instead be patient with it. And what you are seeing, Connor, is inconsistency, which is exactly what you do get with a young ball club. All right, so we got the last Mariner up here now. It looks like Frazier. Tomorrow we got Flexen and Framber Valdez. Framber pitched an awesome game against us last week. So we'll see if we can come back strong here and maybe even this series up here over the next 2 games. I do need to be signing off fairly quickly after the game ends up here, so we will wrap this up here pretty soon. Appreciate you guys hanging in with me, though, on a tough game. It's a great trade by us bringing in Castillo, though, so at least we get a little bit of a silver lining here. ATM says, to quote The Simpsons, patience, Monty. Climb the ladder. That's right. That's right. Baseball is a sport of patience. That's what I love about it. It's a different sport of what basketball and football is. It's a thinking man's game. It's a game like a seedling to flower that you got to watch grow by a team. The nice thing is that much more time that you get with, and Frazier draws a quick walk here. Nice job, Frazier. 2 men on. And then you get a more enjoy these guys, and really, in football and basketball, they go so fast from one team to the next that you don't get a lot of time to really get a lot of loyalty to our player at times. Where with baseball, you do get these guys coming through the farm, and then it takes them a little while to develop. Then they develop into something really good, and wow, it's like you really get to enjoy that player, and there's so much more of a richness to their story by that development. It's the difference of this game versus others. Sector 7 says, anytime I see Brandon's live is fun. Can't wait until we see some winning streams. Hell yeah, brother. We'll get there. We'll get back in there. Ooh, nice pitch there. Haggerty's up now. Connor says, yeah, don't get me wrong. I watch every game and I believe in the young talent. It's just hard to get my hopes up. Ha ha ha. Hey, I get it. You've been burned many times. Connor, I reference it like PTSD, right? It's like Mariner fans are like the soldiers who have been out fighting in wars, and they just, now they're here, and every time 4th of July comes, they start, getting jumpy. Every time we start losing some of these games badly and looking like the signs of those old teams, it starts getting you getting that old itch again of like, oh, they're about to do it to me again, aren't they? They are. He says, I think Noelve and Edwin was too much to give up. I was shocked to see Marte was having to be included in the Castillo deal. I would have liked to have seen Marte, Kirby, and quite frankly, Hancock held out of that deal if it was at all possible. Maybe it not have been possible, Connor. You were jockeying with the New York Yankees in order to try to get him, so Yankees were very well offering a pretty good package. Raleigh hits this ball up in the air. This will be an easy catch, and this will finish the game. So Mariners lose 11-1 in this one. Tough. But I'm with you on that, Connor. That was a lot to give up. That does sting a little bit. He says, we need to sign a middle infielder this offseason. If you can find a second baseman upgrade to trade for, a little bit like what you did with Crawford, for instance, God, that'd be so nice. Give me a 280. Give me a Joey Cora bat into this lineup. Give me a 280, even with almost no power but great defense. And man, it would help this lineup so considerably off of what the position has given us recently, especially with what it's given us in the order. Eddie says the Mariners' offense is similar to the Giants. Haven't been paying much attention to the Giants. Sorry on that one. Jacob Kessinger, Mariners got Luis Castillo. Thoughts? I like the deal, Jacob. I'm in favor of it. I don't like that you had to give up Marte as the centerpiece of that deal. That's an awful lot to give up for a guy in Castillo that's 29 years old. He's technically right now having the best year of his career as a starting pitcher, at least according to where his whip is at and strikeout to walk rate. That stuff is looking really solid down the line for him right now on a Reds team that's just not very good. So he's a fantastic pitcher. He's going to help out this rotation. You've allotted your rotation 4 deep now for the upcoming future this year and at least into the next, if not beyond that. Hancock can now, if he comes back into next year and develops quickly for you, could be your 5th starter. With as talented as they're saying he is, that could really give you a dominant rotation for the foreseeable future. So I overall do like the trade. I like as well, Jacob, they're getting this done on the 29th of July, which now opens the door to be able to maybe make another deal on top of that before the trade deadline in a couple of days, maybe a bat, which as we see tonight with the 1 run they got tonight, with the 2 runs they got last night, this team, and even the Rangers series, this team is not getting consistency through this lineup. And there are guys in this lineup that are absolutely black holes right now in what they're giving you. And guys like Suarez and Winker that you got from the Reds are starting to get really cool, really cold, and you're really feeling their loss in this lineup when they're not even giving you any power numbers, like even the occasional big home run at a key timely moment. Say nothing of not getting on base, striking out too much, not drawing any walks. But good overall, Jacob. Rory says, before the last 5 games, I believe the Astros were 6-6 against the Mariners this year. Yeah, we'd gotten them a couple times before this. It's just right now they've got our number. Spectre 7 stream tomorrow. I will give it a try. So I will be trying to shoot for it. I got to double check the time on what we're looking at, but I probably will be on. Probably. You know me, man. You know how I do. You know how I do it. ATM says, you doing another stream for tomorrow? Talking ball is always a good way to actually see what the team has and enjoy what's to come. Hell yeah. I will try to make my way on tomorrow. So I would love to do it. And I think it'll be fun. Another fun game to watch. It's good to watch this team up against good, tough competition, even if we're not getting on the better end of it. So I will give it a shot. I don't have anything necessarily 100% going on tomorrow outside some various work that I got to knock out. So we will shoot for it. We'll angle for it. Eddie says, after giving A's false hope, Astros making Mariners look like paper bags. You got the better end of it so far. Like someone said, we were 6-6 before we went through these last 5 game series. So you haven't completely dominated us all the way through the whole year. Connor, have we ever traded for a big name player that played well for us after being traded? It's usually the lesser known guys that played well for us. It's a very good question. I would say you've not made a ton of those trades throughout your history, Connor. You haven't. You have the trade where you gave up Adam Jones to the Orioles for that pitcher who wasn't very good for us for a very while. That was a horrible trade. Bad. The Heathcliff Slocum deal where you gave up Jason Varitek was certainly, to your point, one of those awful ones. There is the Andy Benes deal that you made in 95, which was a guy that you traded for from the Padres, who was a real good starting pitcher for you down the stretch. And he was a fairly big name at that time that really helped you out. In fact, Connor, you could make the equivalency between a Luis Castillo trade right now and the Andy Benes trade that you made in 95. Very similar type of what those two pitchers are going to give you there. And that did benefit us. So it has happened there. But outside of those 3 deals I name, you haven't really made a lot of those big name player type trades. You've moved off from Alex. You've moved off from Mark Langston. You've moved off from Ken Griffey Jr. You've more been the guy making the trade to the other way to the other team rather than being the onboarding team. You've been the offboarding team. Yeah. TJ says, good news is everyone we needed to lose lost today. And it's only July. Let's not forget that too, right, TJ? We haven't gotten to August. We're not in September. It's a very winnable. Go look at the schedule for our Mariners through the back half of these next 2 months. A lot of winnable games on that schedule. And all I'm talking about is getting in the playoffs. And then what I'm talking about on the other side of that is once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. That's the beauty of the playoffs. Win or go home. And when you have no expectations, when there's no pressure upon you, you don't think there's going to be pressure on that Yankee team getting the playoffs with the Judge contract situation? You don't think there'll be some pressure on this Astro team getting the playoffs? I think there will be. I think they've got the expectations on their shoulders. We don't. We're playing with house money. Anything can happen at that point. So I take optimism from within that. Eddie says Astros and Dodgers should trade leagues. It'll be more competition. I'd be okay with that, Eddie, because it would be more pure West. I like West being West, Playing 2 teams out of Texas doesn't feel as Westy as it probably should. James Black says 88 win Braves can even win a World Series. Hey, the NL's got some teams too that are good. Make no mistake about it. What's up, Space City? Missed you today, man. It's good to see you in the chat. You guys are, can you stop taking us to the woodshed? Our butt cheeks are already red and bleeding here, okay? Can you put the paddle down, please? Put the paddle down. Oh, hey, some lively discussion here today, guys. We had another tough loss today. Robbie Ray, I can't excuse this performance like I could last week. He was just not on his pitches. He was not on his ball location. It wasn't pretty to watch. He was leaving things up and over the plate. He doesn't have the type of dominating stuff to live there. And then the Mariner relievers that came in behind him similarly struggled in where they were finding the ball and where they were finding their placement on their pitches. On the other side of it, Verlander was efficient. He hammered the zone. He challenged Mariner hitters, and the Mariner hitters kept popping the ball up over and over and over again. They also displayed not very much patience throughout the course of this game. I think we probably drew 2 walks in total while striking out 6 times. They were swinging early in counts. They were getting behind counts. Astro hitters on the other side of it were getting ahead of counts, remaining patient, not swinging on balls outside the zone. Obviously, the scoreboard tells you got roundly beat, but you also got roundly beat by what you saw by the eye test. This wasn't what like that Astro game with the Robbie Ray in that first game where there were balls just kind of landing in at bad spots, hitters putting good swings on tough pitches. This today was a lot of things not going in the right direction, which is a dud, 11-1. Hopefully they can turn it back tomorrow. This Astro team certainly seems on another level from where our Mariners are at right now. Doesn't mean our Mariner team's bad. Just means this Astro team is really good, and we still have a lot of way to scale. Either way, we got at least this Luis Castillo trade on the other side of it. Our rotation gets a little bit stronger tomorrow than it was today, and that is absolutely encouraging. So I'm going to take happiness within that. And again, long season remaining. It ain't over yet. Astros haven't won nothing yet. It's July. They don't hand World Series out in July, last I checked. You got to go win in October to do that. And we're still a long way out from there. So we'll see where we're at, man. Thank you to everybody on the chat. Please do hit that like button if you like what you're listening to here. I do appreciate it if you could. Connor says, would you trade Kelenic and Lewis with prospects for Soto? And what prospects would you trade? Connor, I would package Kelenic, Lewis for Soto. But the key point on this for me would be then I can't give up Kirby and I can't give up Hancock in my rotation. Those guys have got to be untouchable prospects on that. Now, what I could do is go Soto, Lewis, and Ford, right, Connor? Because you have Ford as your catcher for the future. But right now, Raleigh doesn't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. So you have a situation like Marte. Marte was your shortstop of the future. You signed Crawford to a 5-year extension at the shortstop position. Marte now is a little bit blocked from getting the major league level. Makes him a little bit more presentable than as a trade possibility for you at that point. So you start talking about Kelenic, Lewis, and Ford, and you'd have to build on behind that. But if you could put that package together with a little bit something else, then you can get me talking at that point. But I can't, for my untouchables as we move forward just at this moment, just where I stand, would be Hancock and Kirby right now, along with Gilbert. I don't want any of those 3 guys moved off as we go forward. Because you have a nice balance at that point between cheap, young, starting at the near rotation with a couple of guys in Robbie Ray and Castillo making maybe a little bit of money. That's a nice balance for me. Spectre 7 says, night, Brandon, go Mariners, man. ATM says, hope to see you in another good stream, dude. Keep up the good content. Go Hawks and go M's. Hey, go M's, ATM. Thank you for the great discussion as well. Eddie, all money on the Astros tomorrow. Well, I don't wish you guys the best luck because I want to win on that one tomorrow. But Eddie, I do hope, just consider my words on this, man. I'd love to have you in the stream. I just don't want to have it to where if you come in the stream just to talk. Like, we want to have good baseball discussion here. So we're a little bit of an unusual baseball channel in that's the way we're going to roll with it. But I like doing it this way because, as I said, at the end of the day, I want to create I don't want to create an avenue where other teams' fans come in and we're just going to come in and blow them out all the time or time out. I want them to come in, have good discussion. But that door doesn't open if it's just us, again, flinging mud at each other, which just doesn't accomplish much. Rory says Verlander's last 3 starts against the Mariners, 21 2/3 innings and 3 earned runs. He certainly solved us after that one rough start that he had early in the year, hasn't he, Rory? And we've got to find a method and a pathway through this. And I don't know if I have a good answer. I don't know if anybody's got a good answer for Verlander this year. Guy's coming out and he's put a lot of people down. 170 ERA or whatever he's sitting at right now. So I don't know. A lot of people are going to be solving this guy as it is. Can we get into the other parts of this rotation? And Framber is a good place to start tomorrow. A guy who pitched almost an equally good game against us last week. Hopefully so. Space City says, oh my God, y'all got Castillo. We did, Space City. Starts getting a little interesting around these parts, doesn't it? Starts getting a little interesting around these parts. You guys are still pretty good, though, so I don't know. Well, Eddie, I mean, it's like if you want to do that, man. You won't last too long around here. I'd love to have you around here for a while because I do think, again, widened perspectives are beneficial. But just like I told you earlier on this, it just doesn't accomplish much going that route of things. You know, I love talking with Space City. He's a fellow Astro fan that you had. We have a couple other Astro fans that come in here. It's been awesome having some discussions with them. They're really smart people, really intelligent in how they look at the game, not just their own team. And I'd love to do the same with you. But I understand, man. I get enough of those folks on my other side of my Seahawks channel that this occurs enough that I've dealt with this. It's like a plumber dealing with a blocked toilet. And if I got to unblock the toilet, I'll go do so. It's not what I like doing, but if I got to do it, I'll do it. So ball's in your court, my man. Ball's in your court. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up on that, guys. Thank you. Great stream. Appreciate you guys. Again, hit that like button, get subscribed up. I really would appreciate it. But hey, let's see if our Mariners can bounce back tomorrow. Long season, far from over. Let's see if we can make some moves. Make a few moves. A mill here, a mill there. We're right back in the playoffs. Let's go. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. And please don't you guys ever forget. Never forget. Oh, Jacob, let me get you on this one thing. And salute to you, Space City. Jacob says, still want to see another relief with Diego Castillo down and another middle infielder. Thank God we finally got rid of Moore. Now let's bring Kelenic back up. Let's do it. Let's get Kelenic up. He can't be worse than what you're getting out there, right, Jacob? There's no way he can be worse than what you're getting right now out of left field. I mean, especially out of left field. So, or the DH position. 100%. 100%. Santana's hitting 204. 204. You know? We'll see you tomorrow, Space City. Sounds good, brother. Sounds good. And Jacob, thank you, brother, for jumping on in. Appreciate you. Daniel Holmes, you have a good one. And Rory, you as well. Even you, Eddie, you have a good one as well, man. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow if I can. We'll most likely be back on. And until then, let's not forget, don't you ever forget,